Hey, are you ever going to start this podcast you've been talking about for like forever?
Do you think that anyone will actually want to listen to something like this?
What is your plan for an introduction?
Are you sure you want to talk about these topics? People usually disagree.
3 hours? Are you crazy?
Do you think you're some kind of expert or something?
Are you planning to have an intro song?
What if a bunch of people get really
Thanks
mad
so much
and
for
hate
giving this
you over
podcast
this?
a listen.
Do you even know how to make a podcast?
Are you just doing this because you like to argue with people?
Don't let this be just one more thing that you talk about doing, but never actually do.
Wouldn't it be better to do just one episode for each topic?
Stop trying to change people's opinions. Just live your own life.
Dude, people are never going to agree. Just let it go.
Is this going to be a long intro? Because if it is, I'm bored already.
Well. You've made it to the end of Season 1. Congratulations. It's been a fun ride so far, and I really hope to do a Season 2. So if you or someone you know would make for a good guest, please let me know. The plan is to start recording for Season 2 in April. You can reach me at Why Can't We Talk About That at proton.me. Although this is the last official episode of Season 1, I plan to release a special episode next week that will cap off the season. It will be a discussion between myself and 3 of my previous guests. I hope you'll enjoy it. My guest today is John Singh. John is an old friend of mine, and I don't mean old as in age, although he is older than me, and the oldest guest I've ever had on this podcast. I just mean old as in I've known him for over 20 years. I hadn't talked with him in quite a long time, though, so it was good to catch up with him. John has a natural sense of humor, and this is part of the reason I reached out to him for the podcast. There's an app called Nextdoor that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It was designed so that people living in the same neighborhood could connect and keep each other in the loop about the things happening in their neighborhoods. My friend John, however, uses this app as a means for stand-up comedy. One day, my wife said to me, "Hey, have you seen any of John Singh's posts on the Nextdoor app? They're both political and funny. He might be a good guest for you to have on the podcast." So it was John's online antics that landed him here today, and there's much laughter in this episode. You will hear us discuss such things as compromise, the transgender community, the media, gun control, abortion, Andrea Bocelli, Mercy Me, Manchester Orchestra, bunny rabbit wrangling, the art of the straight face, bagpipes, Dropkick Murphys, church music, quiet or loud worship, church hopping, Civil War, taxes, parking, needing a license to have children, the border crisis, homelessness, drug addiction, fentanyl, a living wage, buffets, everyone's a winner, and questioning our own salvation. Enjoy the conversation.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, I thought Chelsea was married too now.
No. She's almost married, but
Okay.
she's in New Mexico finishing her PhD. So she's went from a bachelor's, got offered a scholarship for bio science research. So she's working with a lab with some teachers, and then she goes to school. They pay for the whole thing.
That's hardcore, man.
Yeah, so I went and bought a house over there, and then she lives there with her boyfriend.
And this is where now?
In New Mexico, Albuquerque.
Okay.
And then she's got a 4 bedroom, so she rents the 3 other bedrooms out.
Oh,
nice. And so the house pays for itself. Yeah, they're paying for her schooling, so it's I said that to pay me back my down, and the house is yours. It's a really nice house, overlooks all of Albuquerque, and
yeah,
she's a smart girl. She's doing good. She was researching monkeypox for a while now. She's looking for another professor to work with. Each year they give her somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now that monkeypox has kind of fallen to the wayside, nobody seems to be talking about it.
She's going to be there 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. The topic, it's not the topic of the century anymore. It's something else,
it moves quickly.
It's basically whatever they want us small mindless people to follow, and then argue about.
Exactly.
Then we all get our conservatism or liberalism, and then we all box it out. So they got us occupied. Then they throw in something else we're not watching, and then they'll go off to that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you talk about the things going on right now in the world today, whether it's religion, whatever it is, they couldn't get away with this stuff. I go back to my parents and even in the 70s and the early late 70s. This is not what we were about.
No.
We were kind of a combined country. And,
Right.
Yeah, I think when we opened the Pandora box of the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the divide is,
huge.
the chasm is much bigger now than it used to be, even whether it's politics or spirituality, whatever it is, you know. It's bad.
Yeah. So what is this? What did you start this, or is it?
This is something. Have you listened to any yet, or?
No, I have not.
Okay, good. That's even better. You don't know what to expect. I like that.
Yeah, I listen to. Everybody wants me to start one.
Okay.
And I have an idea because I was going to do my YouTube channel, but I haven't started just because I've been so busy at work and then life.
Right.
But, it's basically called Man About Town.
Okay.
And what it is about getting people around the businesses and the small businesses in the area and going in and discussing different topics with them, but also, getting a little more stirred up. And then one of the things that I had wanted to do, I had a friend a long time ago that used to do voices.
Like for cartoons and stuff?
No, he was just really good at, so he could do any voice.
Oh, he could do like impersonations.
Yeah, so always in the back of my mind, what I wanted to do was say, it'd be really great to do one of these talk shows, but have a character that's in the studio with you that would get in an argument with the person calling in.
The structured.
Yeah, so if it was a white supremacist, the person he'd go into a black voice.
Okay.
That's a version of what I wanted to do with kind of a podcast and a YouTube.
But all scripted.
That part would be all scripted,
okay.
but not the actual Man About Town. Man About Town would be just topics that are affecting, because I've run several businesses and I wanted to go around to really let people understand what it takes to run a business and let a lot of people don't understand these people are not making multi-millions of dollars running the bakery store down the street.
Oh yeah,
they're all struggling.
They're lucky if they even stay around a couple of years.
But, we run car washes and people you change the price by 50 cents. They're voting for the person to get more. What's called a living. I forgot to put that in the notes. I wanted to discuss what's called a living wage.
Oh yeah, we'll get there for sure.
Great topic.
Yeah, it is. It is a really good topic.
Where's the rest of the family?
Oh, they leave when I do these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that way there's no noise and no. Bethany takes the kids. I only have 2 at home still, so she takes those 2 out and they go.
You have 3.
4.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Laura is married now.
Right.
She's living down in Whittier.
Nice.
Aiden is down in Corona.
What's he doing?
He works at Home Depot and he's doing his music stuff. Yeah, he's got a couple albums that he's self-released and stuff.
Oh, you will have to give me the link or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, and it's a gamut. The first album's kind of acoustic driven singing stuff. The next one's very hip hop. Then the one after that's kind of electronic.
So he's trying to find his sound, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of goes all over with it, and he's huge on this podcast. He's doing all the stuff for me.
Roommates or
he's living by himself right now.
Wow.
Working at Home Depot down there. He's trying to possibly come back soon. He was dating a girl down there, and they're not together anymore. He's like, there's really no point in me being here. Yeah. He'd rather be closer to family.
But he wants to focus on his music.
Ideally, right? If he, I'm sure if he could make a living doing nothing but music, I mean, that would be the biggest dream ever, you know? But like everything to do with this podcast, other than just what we're doing, me and you talking right now, he's doing that for me. Nice. He's doing all of the techie stuff. He did the intro that you, when you listen to one, you'll hear there's an intro song. He wrote that. That's him, right? He wrote it and sang it, and so he's doing the whole deal there. And he's doing like everything. But
so what made you want to do this?
So it's something that I've had in my mind for years. Yeah. I've always thought about, even in fact, one of my guests that I had earlier, somebody that we used to have these discussions at work all the time, and he always used to say, "Oh, we should have a show. We'd have a show," and that was before there was even such thing as a podcast.
Right.
So now that there are podcasts, and I have friends that do podcasts. I've been on a few of their shows, and I thought to myself, well, it'd be really cool just to sit down with one person and talk about some of these things. Mainly the spirituality and the politics,
right? Just
because it's important, very important topics. But I feel like a lot of times nobody really gets anywhere, because it turns into a mudslinging, name calling. If you disagree with me, you're the devil, that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I think there's actual answers to a lot of these issues. And I think if people can be rational and civil enough for long enough and open-minded enough, we can start getting to some solutions.
Well, I think one of one of the things I've found out in discussing things with people, because my in-laws, the Ashley, the Brandon, the gentleman she married,
Okay.
they're teachers.
Both
So
of them?
Both of them. So
Okay.
right away, you know what a teacher is on the liberal, the way they view things.
You almost have to be unless you're private school or something.
Yeah, but they're liberals. But the husband was my daughter's junior high school history teacher. All of them went through it, and he is very rational. But it's difficult on the type of rational he is, because. And the funniest thing I ever did with them was I said, they were talking to me about, actually the mom was talking to me about, African American and, how do you feel as a man of color in the United States? And I said, anything I want to be.
Right.
Yes, there's people that are prejudiced, all kinds. Chinese are prejudiced. Indian people are probably the most prejudiced people on the planet of the earth.
Right.
And I said, and she wanted to say, we need to help them. I said, how about this? What if you take a part of your salary and you donate? I'm not going to donate anything because I don't believe I need to give any money towards somebody else. I'll donate where I feel the need. But if you feel so passionate about that, I mean, you guys got a lot of money in the bank. Why don't you United Negro College Fund, or why don't you guys do that? Well, that's not what I'm talking about. And we went on and on. I said, so you're basically saying is you want me to donate some of my money as well as your money. So now it's a different thing. I go, you really sound like our government right now. How they're taking from us but giving us nothing.
Right.
And so we went back and forth. But what I realized was after going in battles, now it got to a point where we can't have these discussions, and it got to a point where we just decided, you know what, I have to find out what the halfway point is. But I found out in discussing with them, they would not compromise. They would not come to the middle.
Right.
And I say, so what's the middle? What subject can you pick and say what is middle? Abortion. Probably no.
Right.
Is there middle in abortion? No, there's not.
That's a good point, and I brought up that point on this podcast before. Is that the people say we need to compromise? We just need to come together and compromise. But the issues are so important now. Like you said, what's the compromise?
Yeah.
This side believes we're killing a baby.
Right.
Or you're killing a baby. This side believes no, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the middle ground?
Well, the greatest thing I heard the other day, I love TikTok, and there's things that are posted on there. I love TikTok because of pretty much recipes and fitness stuff I like following.
Oh, okay.
And some comedy.
Nice.
Other than that, I think it's the biggest garbage damage.
I thought you'd be like for the dance moves and stuff. I thought you'd be all about that.
I got a whole collection of stuff I could show you. Yeah. But this guy said that his friend was gay, and he was going to have a wedding. And he says, his friend says, I would like you to come to my wedding so you can kind of support us. And he says, well, I'm a Christian person. He goes, the same Christian belief that allows me to accept you as a gay person is the same belief that says I cannot go to your wedding and accept your wedding.
Right.
The joining of two people. And it was said a little differently, but I said that kind of speaks of everything. When you talk about your belief, if this is what I believe and you're trying to alter my belief,
right,
you're trying to change and fix my belief too, you can't do that. But then if I don't change, then all of a sudden I'm a racist or a...
Well, it's interesting because I've noticed that it's on the two sides of the aisle. You have the conservative side and the liberal side, and I lean conservative. I'll say that right off the bat. But I tend to notice that when I watch a lot of these kind of debates between the two sides or whatever, the difference is it seems like from the conservative side, a lot of time, not always, a lot of the times, they're just like, okay, I'll this is what I believe, that's what you believe, that's what you want to believe, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I disagree with you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
To where from the liberal side, a lot of times it's like, no, if you disagree with me, I'm going to do everything in my power to force you to believe what I believe. You're going to have to do the things that you're like you just said, like the wedding thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to go and cancel culture somebody out of their job because they disagree with you?
Yeah.
Now I understand there's some topics that are big deals,
right.
and if someone had a practice of killing children or something, and it was like, well, should we cancel culture that guy out of doing that? We should do something, right? I mean, that's kind of a big deal. But if it's just like, well, that guy disagrees with the transgender agenda, okay, his belief in doing that in that isn't hurting anybody. Yeah. He's not out rounding up transgender people and hurting them and harming them and everything else. If he was, I'd be right there saying, stop that. That's wrong. But just his belief that, let's say, a biological woman is not actually a man if she believes she is.
Right.
Just that belief alone is seen as a threat. And then they say, no, we got to stop that guy.
Right.
We got to do everything we can to get him out of his job, to get him so he's just destitute. Why?
Well, because if you look at the conservative foundation, we are about less government. Mm-hmm. We're about less everything.
Right.
We're about people making their own decisions, and in a way that's biblical. In a way, mm-hmm. God put us here for free will.
Right.
And that's what we kind of follow. Now, we don't want to talk about the extreme on either side. We want to get down in the middle.
Right.
The problem is the what I call the liberal side or Democratic side, they have an army that's fighting their battle. That's Satan. That's whatever you want to call it. They have an army, the media, Satan, right? You just said it. Satan, definition is Satan. We do not have that.
Right.
We have a couple of people out there that are espousing things, but we don't have the actual group going out, because conservatives don't go out there and fight unless they're pushed up against a wall.
Right.
And when they get pushed up against a wall, January 6th happens and things like that happen. And I think everybody missed that. And there was a guy that, and I wanted to find the name for you, but there's a guy that analyzed that, and he says, this is a opening of what is going to happen. And I told my one friend who's a Democrat, very, very liberal, said that. I said, do you understand when you guys open this up, what's going to happen? I go, who do you think has the guns? Who do you think is in the military has the guns? What do you think is really going to happen here? Mm-hmm. I go, and when a society government takes over another government, China, do you think if China came over here and took over us, do you think they'd go after the conservatives with the guns? No. They're going to go after the teachers, the media, the professors, the politicians, because those people are the ones that influence the mind.
Right.
The guns are easy to get rid of. That's easy. That's going to be the easiest part. Right. He goes, that's who they're going to come after. Go look what happened, in Russia. Go look what happened with the purges in China, Cambodia. It goes on and on.
That's all you got to do, right? Is look in the history books.
Look in the history books. History repeats itself.
But nobody does that.
Nobody does that. And they go, well, no, it's not going to happen this time. People are too intelligent. Oh, you mean they were stupid back then?
Right.
I don't think so. I think they were highly intelligent back then. I think we're stupid now because we're believing whatever anybody wants to influence us to believe.
Right.
And that's the difficult part.
Yeah. Well, and it goes. That has to do with like the whole gun the gun laws thing. Yeah. Where people, whenever there's a mass shooting, which of course nobody likes that, right? They make it sound like the people that are pro gun rights are somehow celebrating every time that there's a mass shooting. That's the way they paint it out. But of course, we're all saddened when we see something like that. But then the one side comes in and says, so the solution is to get rid of all the guns from the citizens. But you talk about looking into the history books. If you look into like just about every country that's ever done that, the crime has gone up.
Yep.
Because the criminals are still going to get the guns.
Well, Australia is probably the most recent example during COVID.
Right.
They don't have guns there.
Right.
They locked up their citizens. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't have happened in the United States because we have guns and we can defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And really, the Constitution, when you read it, talking about having your protection, whether it's just guns or groups, it's against the government because it had to do with England. It had to do with the government coming over. It wasn't about protecting yourself against the thief that's going to knock on your door.
Against the government.
It was against
your
own
government.
And I tell that to everybody else. I'm afraid of the government. I'm not afraid of, I'm not.
Your neighbors are fine, right?
I'm fine with my neighbors. I'm fine with the guy coming through my door. I know how to handle that. Mm-hmm. It's the government. The government's going to come and look at in China. China's a good example.
Right.
It's what can happen when Iran. They don't have any weapons to fight,
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's
exactly.
Yeah, the gun one's always
right.
It's always funny. Put the knife down. Is the knife going to get up and stab me?
Right.
It's a gun. No one's talking about the mental destruction we're doing to people.
Right.
It's the liberals and the far rights that are inspiring this hate towards each. It gets into me if I listen to. I turn on my my Christian music sometimes when I drive to work one time I tried their challenge and 1 week I just listened and my mental attitude was so much better
by listening to what? Oh, just Christian music.
Just Christian music. Anything
Gotcha.
I could find out, anything that I could just listen to, praying and stuff like that. I pray every time I'm going to work. That's what I'm doing. I've got a 35-minute drive to San Luis, and so I pray. But the voices on both sides just rile you up.
Right. Like as opposed to like listening to talk radio, you mean like?
Yeah, I listen to talk radio too.
But that gets you going sometimes.
Yeah, it gets me going 98.5, or if I listen to 89.5 NPR, which NPR used to be a really great channel to listen to really learn a lot about different subjects. They've gone to the far left.
Yep.
And how they twist things and how they attack, and then they act like they don't do it.
Right.
When they're doing it, you can hear them in their voices, just how they're talking, and it just infuriates you. And it's like, why is this happening? And why am I letting it?
See, most things, it takes a lot to get me riled up.
Yeah.
Like my wife would even attest that. But it happens. One of the things that is guaranteed every time is The View.
Yeah.
If I hear even a 30-second clip of Joy Behar saying something, and everybody says, "Oh, Whoopi Goldberg's the worst one on there." No. To me, Joy Behar is the worst. She's just ignorant. She says things that aren't even true.
All of them
make no sense.
All of them don't understand. Somebody's given these people a voice. Well, look who is the governor of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Okay, this is the state we're in. Instead of a brain surgeon, we voted in basically a brain dead. No one looked. I looked at his history, and it's disgusting.
Right.
I look at Dr. What's his name? Oz.
Yeah.
He's not perfect.
No.
But he went to school. He's a brain surgeon. He's an intelligent person. Who would you want to represent yourself?
Right.
But we took it all the way down to, because we don't understand abortion, we took it all down to a woman's like, no, in your state you vote, you want to kill babies, you go ahead and kill babies. I mean, what's his name? The comedian, he's the white comedian, he's pretty vile, but he was talking
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
Okay.
Did you hear his one about
the
abortion?
Cake? Did it have to do with the cake?
Yes.
Okay, it's so funny you mentioned that because I haven't heard it.
Oh, you got
literally
the
last one of these I just recorded.
Yeah,
just the other. It's not even out yet. Just recorded it the other day, last week, and he brought that up.
Yeah,
I know who Bill Burr is, but I've never seen the skit. He's talking about he's having the cake, and he's like, "And what if somebody said?" And then he just threw the cake out. What are you doing? Oh, it's not a cake yet.
It's not a cake yet. but the comment he makes is he says, he goes, you do whatever you want.
Right.
But when you go and see the God,
right,
and you say you killed all these kids, I'm free. Right. I didn't tell her to kill all those kids. I'm not all involved in this. And he was talking about you getting up in front of the Lord and saying, okay, you did this.
You answered for your own actions.
You answered for your own actions, and they don't see that. It's all about my body, my body, my body.
Yeah, and I've never understood that argument because. Again, I've said this so many times, but it's like, I don't know any pro-life people who disagree with the statement that a woman has the right to do what she wants with her body.
100%.
All of them agree with that. Yet that's the number one argument. You guys are trying to tell a woman what she can do. No. We're fine. I mean, if you want to jump off a bridge and kill yourself, I support your right to do so. I hope you don't.
Yeah.
I would plead for your life. I would try to talk you out of it. But I support your right to do so. I do not support your right to kill somebody else.
Yeah.
Just because they're living inside you.
Do you remember the discussion, if you go back about in the 80s and 90s, the discussion was because a woman got raped or molested.
Right.
That's all you heard.
Rape and incest. Yeah, that's
have
always
you heard the new thing they've added into that? Well, they've used the African Americans and they've said there's women out there that can't afford these kids, and we're subjecting them to years of just terrible life and struggles. We don't provide them with childcare, education, and so they're mixing the two together.
And we'll definitely get back to the abortion stuff. But let's talk a little bit about music.
Yeah,
let's get into that. Tell me, kind of like, You're a music fan, but although you said you don't know a lot about like artists and titles.
I don't say the titles all the time, but I'm what's called world music. So there is not one particular genre of music I listen to. I will listen to anything. So I listen to like Andre Bocelli. Okay. So Ave Maria, he does probably one of the best versions of it, and we actually saw him down at the Los Angeles Bowl.
Oh, nice. And, he didn't see you though.
No, he didn't see me. I wish he had. I was waving.
That was bad. That was a bad joke.
We were way up, but boy, if you want to go to his concert, you drink wine when you go. There was wine flowing everywhere.
Very fancy.
Great group of people.
Got to wear a tuxedo to go.
Yeah, and he's a lot older now. And I was like, wow, I just caught on to him when as he's older, and of course he's blind, So, but the way he does it, well, his son Mateo, young, beautiful, good-looking kid, sounds identical to him.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm starting to listen to him.
So he's got quite a career ahead of him.
He's got a daughter, or he's got a younger daughter too. That is just, and Andre Bocelli is great because he'll mix it up with different artists.
Right.
He's had rap artists with him. He's had R&B artists with him, and the mix and just where he's at. And I can't imagine what Mateo's going to do with it.
Oh yeah.
But then I also, he'll
do a collaboration with like Eminem or something.
Yeah, and then my Christian music is more of like a Mercy Me. I love all the, what's that funny dance song they have? There's a.
Oh yeah. It doesn't sound like them.
Yeah, it doesn't
I remember
sound
when
like
the single came out. I was like, "What in the world?"
The video is hilarious because it's this trying to get people to dance, and there's this girl in there that they're trying to get her to dance.
Oh, okay.
And she gets up, and then when she starts dancing, the expressions on their face, because she's dancing like this robot. She's got no hint of rhythm or dance moves. And they're like watching her, and then everybody's copying her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then,
they're one of those groups that I've always liked. I Can Only Imagine's great song, Spoken For. All those early ones were great. I mean, they're always real mellow songs they played on the radio. So my cousin ended up getting tickets to see them up when I was up in Washington, and I wasn't that excited because I was like, I like them, but they're kind of mellow. I like a good kind of,
mixing
energetic concert, Audio Adrenaline opened up for him. So I was excited about that.
Oh, wow, okay.
But when Mercy Me played, dude, they were epic.
Yeah.
They were energetic. They were playing a lot of fast songs that I never heard before. I was like, okay, I can get into this.
I've gone through, I'm a big YouTuber too. So I'll, my big dream is like we're looking for a big acreage for a home, and we want to have our in-laws living with us, and we want to have my daughter who's up in Fort Collins. She's going to have her horse business there.
Okay.
She's the one that's married. They want to have a whole, and I want to do vertical farming and stuff. So there's the things I want to do.
Oh, you got big plans.
Yeah, we got big plans. So we've been looking for a while. It's over a year and a half. We've been looking for property, and now it's kind of coming towards where we want. But my thing is to have a room that's insulated where I can watch movies and listen to music, because my wife doesn't like when I turn things up.
Mine either.
Sometimes I'll be watching one band after another. Like I love Manchester Orchestra. You ever listen to those guys?
No.
Yeah, they got a song called Silence.
Manchester, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Huh.
Yeah. It's
I'll have to check that out.
It's another good group. And so I listened to, and then I listened to, it's called Clanandero. It's basically a Scottish drum band.
Okay.
Yeah, they do the bagpipes and stuff.
Nice.
Calandero.
Is it instrumental or is there vocals?
It's all with the drums, and there's no singing. What they do is a lot of their stuff is street music. So they'll go out into the streets of Scotland or different countries, and they'll be selling their CDs to get out there, and they'll be playing their drums. So it's there's four guys, and the main guy looks like he's about 60, 70 years old. He's wearing a Scottish kilt.
Nice.
Doesn't have a shirt on, and they're banging on these big, huge drums.
Yeah.
And then there's the bagpipe guys in the back. They don't always have the bagpipe guys. Sometimes they have their different drums, but it's all their traditional music going back to the days of when they would go to battle. So it's all these battle songs and all these so it's
like William Wallace kind of stuff.
William Wallace. They're dressed like that too.
Okay.
And it's just really good. You got to watch the YouTube of those. It's just really
I'll check it out.
Yeah. So I listen to. There's not I'll listen to music from Africa, all the different dancing that they do, and they're all being discovered right now. Like my culture is Indian music. Punjabi Hindu music, and if you look at all the mix if you look at the videos coming out right now, a lot of the Indian influences in a lot of the different music. And now the Indian people are taking on a lot of the American cultural music and the dances and stuff that they're doing, but not the old way that they used to do it, where it was kind of corny.
Right.
They're actually mixing it in and doing their own version of very famous songs that we sing, and they do their own version of it. And it's phenomenal I just love watching that stuff. You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm all over.
Yeah.
There's not one.
Yes, I mean, I think I would. I like everything too.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you? Is there a certain genre that you tend to gravitate more towards? Like, if you like it it more, do you like everything the same?
I like. Well, I do a lot of. I would say I gravitate towards more of the in a version, not metal, but almost there, where they do a lot of the electronic mix into it now. And I do it because I work out, and it really inspires me to work out.
Okay, it's like energetic.
Sometimes I'm going to work, and I just don't have the energy, and I'll put on that music, and I'll say, I'm gonna get out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out there and just go at it. So I use that music to pump myself up, or I use it to change my mood.
Okay.
So if I get agitated about listening to something on the radio, or maybe I didn't agree with something with my wife, and we've talked on the phone, and I'm driving home, and I said, I don't want to get into a battle about it. You know, I'll put on something, and I'll just get out of that mode.
You'll put on something heavy so you can get your aggressions out.
Get my aggressions out. You know, just kind of
before you get home.
Yeah, before myself, and then just clean. And if you listen to kind of the electronic, where they're mixing it with the metal, you know, it's got a little bit more of the bass and in there. Right. It's just hitting really hard. I like.
I've never heard of this, by the way. I mean, it almost sounds like prog rock from the 70s, but like a heavy metal version. To where, like, remember, like in the 70s, they started adding like synthesizers and stuff into the rock bands, and it was Rush started doing that, and some other bands.
There's a couple of guys, again, like I said, they do TikTok. The younger guys, that what they'll do is they'll take a drum beat, but they'll take a riff from a metal, heavy metal band, Metallica. I know there's one kid that did that, and they'll tweak the music. And his idea is, he says, I'm going to get this so everybody likes it. And so he'll start tweaking the music, and he'll do this version of it, then he'll do this version of it, then he'll do this version of it, you know. So I listen, that's probably what I listen to more of. Okay. And that's because of the going to the gym and working out and really trying
you don't
to
want a snoozer if you're trying to work out. See, and when I'm working out, I like some, not that I ever work out, but back when I had to, when I was going to Hancock, it was a class I had to take. Yeah. That's what I would put on, something, in my earbud or whatever. Yeah, when it was a credits I was supposed to be getting, because I don't generally work out. But like if I'm playing like basketball or something, if I'm playing the sport, that's kind of cool to have music that's kind of pump up playing in the back. I have a playlist on my phone that's called Pump Up. Yeah. So I mean, and it's anything from hip hop to heavy metal to electronic. It's just anything that kind of gives you that drive, kind of pushes you forward. And that's mostly
what you like to listen to?
No, well, I mean, my favorite genre of music is punk rock.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow,
punk rock is my all-time favorite.
So who's your bands in the punk rock?
Oh boy, there's a bunch. I tend to like the '90s, the mid '90s skate punk the best, like NoFX, Bad Religion.
Now, would B-52, would they be punk rock?
No, B-52s is more like. Shoot, they're kind of in their own category. I don't think I've ever heard another band that sounded like them. But yeah, probably the early punk rock started like in the set, like the Ramones were in the originators, and you had like the Sex Pistols and those kind of bands that came out doing it.
And is that kind of like that ska type music? Remember?
Ska kind of, yeah. So ska is a form of reggae, right. It's like a guitar tempo that started that. But then third wave ska, which also kind of hit around the late '80s, early '90s with bands like Operation Ivy, and where it was almost like punk rock with horns is kind of what it or like in the Christian circles, Five Iron Frenzy, if you ever heard of them, or Supertones started off as a ska band, and I like that stuff too.
Well, I was into Depeche Mode. I went through that whole era. Depeche Mode, the Boy George, and all that.
That's kind of 80s electronic stuff.
I was actually traveling a little bit, and those are the bands that I'd listened to. Dated a girl that was really into that kind of music, so she kind of dragged me into that music.
I still love 80s music like that. I still play that Cyndi Lauper and Culture Club and all that kind of stuff. In fact, we just had an 80s Bethany wanted for her 40th birthday, she wanted to do an 80s themed birthday because she was born in 1980.
Okay.
So she wanted to have an 80s themed birthday party at the skating rink and have like everybody dress 80s and play 80s music. And we started doing it and we're setting up. Well, then COVID hit. So then they didn't, the skating rink closed down. They weren't doing any parties anymore. And so I was like, oh. So a few years later, now I think this was her 42nd birthday. Sorry for outing your age, honey. But I think it was 42nd. I might even be wrong about that. 42nd. And then, so we did it then. We ended up doing it this last October.
Right.
So it was a blast. We all dressed up. I'll show you a picture in a little bit. But I mean, I had the wig. I had like a Weird Al Yankovic looking wig on. And I had the tube socks pulled up to my knees. And it was a blast. But we played all the 80s stuff. I had a whole 80s playlist that the lady at the rink put on, and it was a blast, man.
And, it's funny. My wife and I are not the same with music.
Oh, me and Bethany are not either.
Yeah.
We only because I like just about everything.
Yeah.
But like I said, some of my favorite band of all time is a band called 15.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, most people haven't. They're a punk rock band started they started as a band called Crimpshrine in the 80s in the Bay Area. And then Crimpshrine broke up, and then the lead singer and guitar player started a band called 15. I want to say like 91 maybe was their first album.
Right.
And they played all the way up until like the mid 2000s or so. Bethany hates it.
Yeah.
Like if it ever comes on, she thinks it's the worst thing ever. Like she thinks his voice is horrible and the guitars are bad, but it's just. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I can still listen to it to this day. I don't get tired of it.
It's interesting how people are wired and what they like.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, my wife doesn't. I'll sit there for three hours, listen to going to YouTube, and listen to different music or on my phone.
Right.
And I'll lose the track of time, but the music is just it gets inside of you, and it's addicting, and works your moods out, and I think. And music, it's interesting, but we are so different with music.
Right.
It's like if I put something like you jump in my car, you'll lose your hearing because I blast things.
Oh yeah, me too.
She gets in there. She's got her quiet country music.
Right.
She's in the cowboy era, and I'm fine.
But you like it, right?
I love country.
See, that's what I mean. So
I was just at an NFR.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw her post that. Yeah,
6 days.
Okay.
I was surrounded by some of the nicest people.
Yeah.
We were staying at the South Point in Vegas, and it's all everybody's cowboy hats. And
did you wear a cowboy hat?
Oh yeah, I went and bought
big
one.
Belt buckle too.
No, I didn't.
Spurs?
I had my poker. I'm a big time poker player. That's another thing about me. But I have I have a poker. It says. I've got the nuts,
Nice. So you wore that, huh?
I wore that, and I had a really large cowboy hat on.
Okay.
You ever remember Bonanza?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a fan of Haas Cartwright.
Yeah.
And his hat.
Okay.
The hats that he wears are actually like almost over $1,000, so I couldn't afford to get them in the white. So white cowboy hats are really expensive. So
Even if I could afford it, I don't think I could stomach.
Yeah, I got a tan
$1,000 on a hat.
I got a tan one, but what I did when you get the hat, you can shape it the way you want. Right there in front of you, they'll shape it. So hundreds of people were buying these hats, and I went in and bought one. And the only thing I didn't do was I did not change the dome. I left it.
Is that a big no-no or what?
No. You can. It's the new style. I found out that most people are getting into now, not shaping it and crushing the top and stuff and making it the way it is. So most hats come this way, domed, and then you shape it. So I left that part. And everybody that I ran into just says, your hat is freaking awesome. And I was actually trying to spoof it a little. I tried to find one where the dome is a little higher.
Right.
But I could not find one. And, so I said, if I ever find one. So that was my outfit. I had the full leather vest. Jacket, and I had the Wrangler jeans, and I had my boots on.
Any rhinestones?
No rhinestones. I look as Western as you can. I actually wore that. I just had my employee Christmas party down in downtown San Luis at the Carissa, so I walked in wearing that.
That's awesome.
No Christmas wear or nothing. I'm walking down the street in San Luis. It's dark.
Nice.
I'm walking by all the people, and they're looking at me like. It's not like it's a brown cowboy.
right. Yeah. They're like, who's this guy?
What can I make of this guy?
Yeah.
No, he's also an Indian cowboy. And I was over there in the poker room at the South Point playing cards, sitting there with my hat on, and people are asking me all the questions about the rodeo and stuff. And so they go, so what event are you doing? So I go, I'm a roper, roping. which is, there's rope.
Right.
So what do you're into the calves or there's mutton busting, there's all kinds of stuff. I go, no, I actually do bunny rabbits. And I was told
And you said it with a straight face, didn't
I said
you?
it with a straight face. And everybody's like, bunny rabbits? I go, yeah. So if bunny rabbits, unlike calf, they run straight out. That's easy. They run straight out. You can get them.
Right.
Bunny rabbits, they jog left and right.
Oh, yeah.
You try to rope one of those, you see how hard it is. And
You
the
gotta
guy's
be
like looking
skilled.
at me across the table, and he's like, he didn't know whether I was being real or not.
That's
so
awesome.
He asked me a question. And the guy that was 2 seats down was from the rodeo. He was one of the judges or whatever, because they have these patches and these vests they wear. And he was on the side of his face, just like this, smirking. Is like, like this is like what's going on here.
That is so awesome.
But yeah, and
that's
the guy
funniest thing ever.
I never corrected the story. I never said this is a joke. No one ever challenged me.
You just walked out of there.
I sat there and played the rest of the thing, and they'd keep on asking me questions about the rodeo.
Dude, that's so good.
I knew nothing. I was only there to support my wife.
Right.
And that's all it was.
But you had the outfit on.
Yeah, I had the outfit on. I didn't even go to any of their functions. You
just went around, played poker, and told tall
the
tales.
entire time and told tales and wore my
awesome.
outfit. Yeah, it was a good
That's
time.
awesome. So they talk about you play cowboys and Indians, but you were an Indian cowboy.
I'm an Indian cowboy.
Yeah.
So there's Indians from here, American Indian,
like Native
Indian,
Americans.
Indian cowboy.
You're an Indian from India.
Yeah. So I don't even think there are Indian from India cowboys in real life. I don't. Like you go to South America, the caballeros, and there's cowboys down there. But I don't think there is in India, because I don't think there's like a lot of horses. I would say if there's camels, that could be considered, but I don't think there's a lot of horse Indians.
You'd be a camel boy.
I should look that up.
You should.
I should look that up. I should have probably told him, no, I ride camels. 2 humps, not one.
Right, camels. Why you rope bunny rabbits?
I'm a 1 hump per camel.
That's the coolest thing ever. I love doing that myself.
Yeah.
And I kind of pride myself on that, because people that meet me that don't know me real well is the best, because they can't tell if I'm kidding or not when I'm kidding, because I'm really good at keeping the straight face, but I'm saying like crazy things that are just ridiculous. So I love watching the person's face, because they don't know me enough just to start laughing.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, what if he's serious? I don't want to offend him.
Right.
So they almost don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, I do actually the race with people, the race card, because both my bosses are white.
Uh-huh.
I work with some very wealthy people. They own the Slow Brew and Quickie Car Wash, and we own a hotel downtown. So we have the Stills, Slow Stills down there. And so they own all these, and my main boss his name is Hamish. He's Australian, and so I like to mess with him, because he's a joker too, and so I'll go in there, and I'm always sarcastic. So on my door in my office, it basically says 0 days sarcasm, and it's basically. And I went on vacation, and somebody went in there and taped on 4 days, because those 4 days I was gone.
Oh wow!
So I'm sarcastic to everybody. So I'm in there in his office, and his father had come and visit from Australia. And as his father was sitting there, I started to. Hamish said something to me. I go, well, I'm kind of offended by that. It's like, I almost think like you're attacking my people, when you say that, and I go, Australians always been like that with Indians in Australia,
Right.
I feel that. And he looks over at me, and his dad looks over at him and like, is this guy real? And I do that all the time where I say, I'm just joking, but they don't know where to go with it, because it's like they're a lot younger than me. They're in their like late 40s, and I'm a lot older than them. And so they kind of look over at me like, is he for real? So
do you get a thrill out of that? Like that they don't know what to do with that? Is that because that's when I do that, it's exciting for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. It's exciting, and the more twisted it is, the more the thrill it is, or the longer I can stretch it. Because I try to get my wife to play along. Sometimes it
doesn't work. Does it?
Well, we always do this thing when we meet another interracial couple, and I'll start making comments about interracial couples. Like, I'm still not. It was a white, and the husband was, I think he was Hispanic. I couldn't tell. And I was saying, I get very uncomfortable around interracial couples. So and I was talking to her, and he was like not even in the conversation yet. And and it's like, it's really nice to see you two guys together, but I'm just letting you know up front, it's really difficult. And she's looking at me like, you idiot. Your wife is white.
Right.
I go, I understand that, but I just am not used to it.
I'm used to it in my own family.
Yeah, so he starts
but nowhere else.
He's looking at me like, he goes, "Are you for real?" He goes, "But and he didn't realize I was joking. My wife is sitting there, like kind of more in shock that I'm saying this to a couple that we don't really know.
I couldn't believe she let you get away with it.
She let me get away with it only for about a minute because he started to get upset because he goes, "But dude, you're my color.
Right.
Goes, don't you know that?" He goes, "I know that. I know that I'm your color, but I don't accept interracial couples yet." He says that is the wrong, it's so wrong that you believe that, Right. And then my wife finally chimes in. He goes, "You do understand my husband's a freaking clown." And then and he finally kind of calmed down because he was getting built up.
Right.
He couldn't understand it. I didn't. And I don't know what his wife was thinking. She was more sitting there like this with her mouth open.
Yeah. She's waiting for her husband to deck you, probably.
No, she was just wondering. No, they weren't mad at me. They were more like, "Do you not see that you or guys are?"
Right.
That I still couldn't accept interracial couples. Right. So
dude,
it was fun.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. But I'm the same way you are then. So we're like,
yeah.
It's gonna be hard to get controversial over stuff and argue. We're gonna have to
it doesn't have to be controversial.
Yeah.
It'll come up. There'll be something we disagree on, sure, but
maybe Star Wars.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I see it all over here.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I see the little sights.
It's more my kids than me.
That's cute, though.
I am a Star Wars fan, but I'm not like. I mean, I know people that are Star Wars fans, like die hard.
Yeah.
You can. I'm not like that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm not like that really with anything other than. I mean, with music, I guess I am, but not. I don't know. Not movies, but but so do you? This is usually the first question I ask people. This is fun. We're going all over the place. Do you have like an earliest memory for you of when you first realized that you liked music?
The earliest memory of music, in England, probably, and it was an odd type of music, and I think it's probably why I like this type of music was I don't know, was 4 or 5, was because we left England when I was 6.
Were you born there?
I was born in England, but I spent about almost a year in India.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole interesting story in itself. But I remember every time it was the Queen's birthday, whatever, we were in a town called Wolverhampton. Yeah, the British would have a band that would march down the street celebrating it. So it'd be the full regalia, and so it would be the bagpipes and the drums, and they'd be coming marching down the street. It was the most amazing thing to see.
Really?
And today, anytime I hear bagpipes or the drums, it's like a feeling inside of me, and I don't know where that comes from.
Does it bring you back to what you say you were 4 or 5 years old?
Oh yeah, no, it takes me to that.
Okay.
I remember looking out our house window, and I could see right down the street as they were marching coming across. And then I opened the window so I could hear the whole thing. I wasn't outside like everybody was outside.
Right.
We were Indian, and we were in pretty much a white neighborhood. And it was a lower income white neighborhood, which is a lot more difficult than if you were just in more of a middle class.
Right, right.
And so, but yeah, I remember that. And it's like, I don't know why I like that music, but I love bagpipes. Bagpipes bring out a different level of emotion in me.
Right.
There's that sympathy and, it brings out that, I love like British movies. I love a lot of that stuff too,
Sure.
So it's like, I think a lot of that stuff stuck with me,
So just to throw this out there, to give you a little interesting homework. If you've never heard of them before, there's a punk band called Dropkick Murphys.
Yep.
If you have heard of them, okay, I was gonna say because they incorporate bagpipes into the punk rock.
A lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another one, Real Mackenzies, is another one that does
Real
that.
Mackenzies,
Okay.
Yep,
okay, so you've heard of these
because
is it because of the bagpipes that you got into them?
It's the bagpipes. Anytime I search music and it's got bagpipes, and it's funny that you said that. It was a while back. I actually searched bagpipes music, and it's amazing how many countries have the bagpipe in their music. There's in areas in Africa, which some of the African leaders have incorporated because they were satellites of England, and they've incorporated it in their Uganda and some of the other countries.
Right.
The Scottish, in Uganda, it was a Scottish. He was really into Scotland. Have you ever seen King of Scotland?
The movie?
Yeah.
No.
You got to see King of Scotland.
How old is it?
It's probably in the late 70s, 80s.
Okay.
It's about the Idi Amin.
Okay.
And who's the ruler of Uganda, and it's about a young doctor that goes over there, and he ends up being his doctor. And he is a completely psychopath, crazy leader, and just the brutality in the country. But it's about this relationship, and he was really into England. He's got the full regalia of Scotland and everything. And his troops, when they march, they have the bagpipes and the attire.
Okay.
So I love that type of music.
So it's a documentary movie, or
no? It's a movie.
Okay, it's like a drama.
I'm trying to remember the name of the actor, but you would recognize him. He's got kind of a weird eye. And he's been in a lot of movies, but King of Scotland, you definitely have to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very interesting movie.
King of Scotland.
King of Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Before we move on from the music, you mentioned in your email about worship music, the church worship music. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Before I was trying well, should I put it in the music section, or should I bring it up in the spirituality section? Let's just talk about it now, and then maybe we can talk more about it when we get into the spirituality section. But so, I mean, what kind of issues do you have or not have?
I have, so you're familiar with some of the churches I've been in,
right?
Too, and there was a gentleman named David Villaretti.
Oh yeah,
David would play the guitar. He knew how to play it.
Right.
He knew the chords, and he would you could feel the music when he played. When he'd sing, it was clean. Lately, I've gone to, I've kind of a bunch of different churches. We're down in Vandenberg Village now.
Okay.
And
with Chuck?
Chuck, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's my wife and I both. We are on the same boat. It's funny when we're sitting there at worship, we'll look over at each other and we're like, God, how many songs we're gonna have to sit through?
That's not good, man.
It's not. It doesn't, and it takes away. And I will listen to regular worship music and listen to people sing, and I love it. I feel it, But I always, I always say that the musicians in the churches, they're always off tune.
Right.
The guitar, the drum. None of it's together. It's really irritating to me. I'm very sensitive to it. Like I say, I listen to hours of music.
Sure.
And I'm very sensitive to it, and it throws me off. And then people start singing, and I'm fine. There's churches that don't use music. They some of the churches they're what's that one on Foster Road, Church of Christ.
Oh, okay.
They don't use music.
I heard that. We were at the Harbor for about 5 years, which is right next door to that church.
And I went to, one of our friends was one of the junior pastors, and we were up in Sacramento at the Delta at his house. And then
didn't you help build that church?
I did the side of it.
You did something, because I remember a long time ago when we were talking,
I know the pastor real well,
okay.
And we did that big meeting room.
Right.
And we went down to Sacramento and we went to their church over there. It's a small church, probably the size of this, your whole kitchen and family room. Not a lot of people, but we got to sing, and I would say it was the best worship I had in a long time because it was real voices singing. Everybody had to sing. You could hear everybody's voices, and the guy that was leading it was almost operatic. He was an older gentleman, and he had that great Andy Griffith, when they used to sing. And he had that voice, and it was good worship.
Right.
I think worship now takes you away from the actual worship, and it's distracting you with everybody wanting to be a musician up there, or like one of the churches I went to, they all want to play their guitar. So there's 20 guitars up there, and we stopped going there. And then there's the women that get up there that, like I joked about it, they didn't get on American Idol, so now they're going to torture us with their voice. And they're singing, and they're off key.
Right.
Or maybe they got a great voice. I'm happy for them, but you know what? I don't want to hear it. I really want to. I want to worship.
Right.
I want to worship, and my thought was, let's just get some music playing without the bands playing, and then everybody just sing, and that would be a good worship, And I thought that'd be a perfect worship.
So you prefer when most of the congregation is singing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I think worship is you, the individual. Singing, you
Right.
know, and just shouting out. And there's times when we've had that opportunity to do that where it's just been one person with a guitar,
Yeah.
but they're not singing,
Right.
but the music's there. And we've had that occasions where this one kid came from AG, phenomenal guitarist, and almost like a rhythm guitarist, and he wasn't singing.
It was all instrumental?
It was all instrumental because you couldn't hear him sing. So he
Okay.
had turned down he says, "I'm not a good singer." I go, "Thank you."
Oh, wow.
Because, yeah, and so everybody was singing.
So
And
the
you
whole
could-
congregation was
You
singing.
could hear the congregation, and I when I was driving home, and I said to my wife, I go, "That's kind of the best worship I've had in a long time. I felt that."
Right.
And she goes, "No, I felt the same. I felt the same way." And it opened me up to hear the message.
Right.
And it didn't agitate me to now I'm agitated. Now I'm going to have to hear the message.
Well, which is what it's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to put you in that heart space where you're feeling connected to the Lord more so. You're kind of letting the troubles of life melt off of you, and now you're ready to hear the God's word. Right now, you're ready to let the Lord use that message to minister to your heart and your soul. To where a lot of times, and this is what I was going to ask you about, like, I like when people start singing. I have no problem with people singing, but what do you think about, like, if somebody is being overly loud, like in a service, like even if it's their own personal worship and that's just the way they do it? Like, let's say that there's somebody that just keeps yelling really loud.
Yeah.
You know, like, praise the Lord, like real, so like loud, not even singing, just like getting loud within the worship
I would say
service.
if it's not always, you know, that way, I would say it's fine. I mean, I love when somebody says praise the Lord or they want to say something. I think that's what church is about. I think we get too structured in it. I don't want to be one of those people that's the church police, you know. But I think I definitely, that's one of those things where the pastor can say, you know, I love your energy.
Right.
But can we all together and let that person decide if you know they want to be at a screaming, yelling church.
They'd probably leave.
Yeah, they'd
probably be offended and be like, okay, you're not going to accept my,
you're great, you know, but it's like somebody that doesn't sing good, you know, they're monotone, anything, oh, the love, you know,
Right.
You could do that too. I don't have a great voice.
Right.
My wife has a great voice. I think so. She doesn't.
Oh,
but,
does she?
Yeah, I think she has a great voice.
I don't think I've ever heard her sing before.
And I think that's what worship is. I think that's what it should be. And I think for me, I have no problem with people worshiping however the Lord leads them to worship, and whether that's singing audibly or even not singing silently, just their heart pouring out, whatever, like whatever physical poses you like. Some people do the arms all the way up. Some people do this deal. Some people do nothing. I'm fine with all of that. My only issue comes in when I feel like it starts to distract. Yeah. Like if I'm sitting here, like this is an example, and let's say they're playing a worship song and the lyrics are really moving to me, and I'm singing them very passionately because I'm like, okay, this is the way I feel right now about my relationship with the Lord, and I'm crying out to the Lord. And then some guy from over here goes, praise the Lord, hallelujah, and I go, and now I'm shocked out of that. I think we had someone like that.
And now, now I'm focused on that person.
Yeah, when he's going to do it again.
Right. Yeah. Or even just for that moment. Like it's now all of a sudden I'm not focused on the Lord anymore. Now it's like, whoa. But it's a difficult thing because if you approach that person, or let's say the pastor or somebody, I mean, obviously just a congregant wouldn't go. I mean, maybe they would. I wouldn't. But let's say a pastor goes and approaches and say, hey, we're getting some complaints that you are distracting from the worship of the Lord through your outbursts. Now, in my experience, most likely that person is going to say something along the lines of, this is how I worship. By you telling me not to do this, you're taking away my relationship with the Lord during the worship service. Do you see? So now you have this problem where it's like you have two sides that are probably equally correct. Like maybe this person is very genuine and this is just how they worship the Lord. But at the same time, they're distracting 20 other people in the congregation every time they do that.
You send them to the crying room.
Yeah,
the
right,
room.
exactly.
Yeah, this is the...
You know, and I said this the other day, I think I was talking to Bethany about it, but I said, if a person, if I could be like a fly in their car, let's say and this person's driving all by themselves in the car, and they're playing worship music, and they're doing that, then I'm fine with them doing it in the worship service.
Right.
Because I feel like that's genuine from the heart.
Yeah.
But if they're not, then I start to question, are they doing that so that other people will hear what they're saying and hear what they're doing? Like, is it like a look at me kind of thing, as opposed to this is truly how I'm worshiping? Because if it's truly how you're worshiping the Lord, you're going to do that anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're the only person within 1,000,000 miles. You're still going to do it. You know what I mean?
I think that's the distraction of religion. It's a distraction of life. I think we're all competing in a way.
Right.
We're all competing in a way. It's like you go to church, you want to be seen at church. You say, I go to church, you know. Well, we used to always joke about when people you run into people and they go, "Oh, we're welcome to the church." I go, well, we've been coming here for 5 years.
Yeah, look, some new people.
We just sit over there.
Right.
I've seen you. You sit over there.
Yeah.
And we've never seen each other because the moment church is over, you dash out the door.
Right.
Because we've been doing some greeting now at church every month.
Okay.
We do the greeting.
Yeah.
So you get to meet these people and some come up to you, oh, welcome to the church. So I'll go, I'll turn it around. I'll go, oh, welcome to the church. And they go, I've been going here for a while.
Yeah.
And they wanted to defend themselves.
Nice,
I'm
that's funny.
I'm not taking it away from you. It's not. No one's checking.
Yeah,
you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You should do that to somebody that's like on staff there.
Yeah,
like on the worship team or something, or somebody, or like one of the pastors or something.
Yeah.
And say, "Oh, welcome to our church." You know, it's so nice. I pastor here.
Well,
I
I tell people, I go, I helped plant this church. I go, the day it started, I go, we were over at the motel. We were over at the motel and the bar is where we used to be. The bar used to be the kids' place. It's a motel.
This
on
Village Chapel?
Village. Yeah, Village Chapel was in a little motel.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was kind of shutting down and kind of not. And so the plan was to eventually buy the entire property. So the front part has a restaurant and had a little meeting room.
Yeah.
And across the way was the bar. So we would put all our stuff in the bar. We cleaned out the meeting rooms and we'd set up the chairs. And so there was 11 families that originally went over from Calvary Chapel that planted the church. And then we started getting people from Vandenberg Village. And it got to the point where we couldn't even sit because everybody was standing. So then what I did is, because I was doing construction at the time, we went in there and we gutted the restaurant, took all the booths out, put it in containers, and we made that whole area now I built a stage and everything.
Oh,
we put
wow.
sound, and then that ended up being the main chapel. And then upstairs we created the kids' place.
Right.
And then that eventually developed into. We ended up moving to the junior high school over there, and we were in all the classrooms. So it was just this travel.
Yeah.
With the church never got the building they wanted. Now they're right on Constellation. There's an old medical building which we ended up gutting, and then inside, and now
so what happened to the original building that you gutted? What's that now? Is that anything?
It's they're turning it back into the motel now, the hotel.
Oh, okay.
And it's a great facility. It's they had a pool in the back that we used to do the baptism, a big green area.
Nice.
And then where the other hotel rooms were in the far back corner, we were going to do like a senior housing, and have like seniors, and then visiting. They wanted Chuck wanted to do camps and have it open for camps, but we just never got that together, you know. And so we were going to do like a whole fundraising and everything. I found a company in Washington that just does church building, and it's all these churches got together and they provide the funding for you. And they come in, they've got the plans or different things, and they come in and help you build it, and then you pay them back with a little bit of. And I wanted to do that, and the initial onset was $10,000 to start this, but I did the background check on them and everything, but the church body didn't want to invest in it. And so here's where we sit. And then we were aligned very close to Coast Hill. They know a lot of people there. And then we were going to take over their big building.
Okay.
You know, so Chuck's kind of resigned to, you know, something the Lord's going to have. But I told him, I said, you know, the best time I had at the church was at that motel and at that school. The breaking down, the putting back together, everybody was involved. Sometimes there wasn't enough people, then they'd come and get involved. And it was just the best group, because pretty much the entire 11 families are gone. They used to belong to that group, and now it's only myself and Laura who's come back.
Okay.
We're kind of the originals. With
You guys left there and then you came back?
Yeah, we came baback. We went. We tried to go back to Calvary Chapel. That didn't.
Here in town?
Yeah, in town.
Okay. That's where we're back at now.
Yeah, we were with Pastor Paul. Now we know his son.
Now it's Connor's there.
Connor,
Yeah, we've only been back for like 2 months.
Yeah,
We're
then we
brand
went
new
to
back.
Element.
Okay.
For a while, and Element is a very interesting church.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that go over there.
Very interesting church. And
is that Mark Pruitt still doing? Does he still do the worship over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Pruitt, and you want to talk about me having difficulty listening?
Well, it's funny because we were at Calvary back when we knew you guys there, and you guys were there up until when you left to help Village start up.
Yeah.
We were still there then, and then we ended up leaving shortly after that. We went out to a church out in Sisquoc for like 12 years.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
You were at...
yeah, the community church out there. We were out there like 12 years. I think it was 12 years. So then when we left there, we came back to Calvary, and we were just church hopping. We were just looking around.
Yeah.
We were there for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then through weird circumstances that I won't get into, because it's a long story, we ended up at the Harbor, which is the one right next door to that church that you did work on Foster.
Okay.
It's literally right next door. I mean, like a parking lots, we can see them and they can see us. And the reason I know about the music thing is because we had a guy at our church that came over. Hey, you need to pray for that church over there because they don't believe in music.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were at the Harbor for about 5 years, and then we just recently came back to Calvary. Yeah. And Connor's doing that, and we've only been there for a couple.
Yeah, and
months,
actually before Element and before Calvary, there was another church that's over there on Skyway that we were a part of. And those people dispersed, and they actually went over to Element.
Are there churches on Skyway?
Yeah, there's about 3 or 4 of them.
I think there's more than that.
Yeah.
That should be called Church Street, man.
Church Street.
There's so many over there.
The Crying Room Church with the female pastor, and then you got...
You
got all... Yeah, we went through, but I think at the end of the day, Chuck's always been a great person, the way he gives the message.
Yeah.
And he's always been honest.
Right.
And he understands what people are capable of sitting there and listening to.
Right.
And it just works. I love Pastor Paul. Pastor Paul and Lucy are just, our kids went through the whole school. They're every single one of them. It's best memory for us. But
the preschool that they had there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All 3 of my girls went there. We went to all the shows and watching all the girls. We got great Father Day,
Yeah.
Real quick story. This is me. So Chelsea had, my middle daughter had Father-Daughter Day. So you go in there and they do artwork, and they give you a tie. And the tie is supposed to represent your dad and what he does.
And the daughter makes the tie, right? Yeah, because Laura did that too. I still have it. So what was yours?
My tie, the 2 things I remember on my tie was a cork from a bottle of wine and an ace card from poker.
Nice. At a Christian preschool, they're probably is your dad an alcoholic?
And I forgot what the other one was, but that wasn't even complimentary. And I was looking at all the other dads. I remember this. I was looking at all the cards. There's one with golf.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff with the kids and what they do with dad, like a pet or something like that. There's my card. And I forgot who it was. One of the dads comes up. He goes, "Wow, she sure got you down."
What do you do with your dad on the weekends?
Yeah,
we go to the bar and we
folding
gamble
up the tie. I'm just kind of like rolled up the tie. This is real cute, honey. Tucked it in there. Hey, Dad, don't you want to wear your tie? No.
Oh, man.
Every dad was putting on their tie. He goes, Dad, why don't you put on your... No.
Awesome. Does she think that's funny now?
Huh?
Does she think that's funny now?
She thinks it's the most hilarious thing in the world. I think we still have it. She thinks it's the most hilarious.
That is great,
but Dad, that's... I go, that's what you remember of me, huh? You don't remember me at the soccer? Oh, yeah, it was a soccer ball because I used to coach their soccer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that was a good one.
Little tiny
That's
soccer
a good
ball.
one.
Yeah, no, it was good. Dad, it should have been me yelling and screaming on the sidelines.
Because you were drunk from the wine and you're mad because you lost all your money at poker.
Yeah, I lost all my money at poker.
Wow, that's awesome.
Hilarious. Yeah.
All right, let's delve into politics. So, even though we already have a little bit in the beginning. So you're obviously somewhat of a political person.
Very.
So a question I like to ask, it's very broad, but we'll see where it goes with it, is that what do you see as the most crucial an important issue that's facing our country and / world today?
I would say, in a broad way, I would say it's our internal conflict. I believe we're headed for a civil war. I truly believe it, and I believe it because of the people I talk to.
Okay.
On both sides, I think we're headed into, and I don't mean it across the United States like the Civil War, where it's the North and the South.
Right.
I believe there's going to be pockets of pretty bad fighting going on because you can only push people so much, but when you start impeding on a lot of their freedoms, I think the loss of our freedom in this country is what's going to affect us. We're all gonna have a judgment at some point where somebody's going to challenge us on something. They might challenge us on religion. They might challenge us on our property. There's now in California, if you have a well on your property, the state wants to be able to meter your well now. So you dug your well for $35,000. You got water. They say that water belongs to the state, not you.
Right.
And they can take it, just like in Colorado. If you set up anything where you can collect your own water, the state can tax you on that water. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is it's going to get to the point where people are going to say, no, I'm not going to pay anymore, and you're going to start seeing that, and we see that already, where people are standing their ground. Like I don't know if you remember when the government the Federal Land Bureau went up against that rancher.
Oh yeah, and there was a shootout, wasn't there?
Yeah. That guy was right.
Right.
That guy was 100% right.
Right.
It was his property, and the way the story was told was so wrong. He was right. And
Right.
And you can't go onto people's land and start dictating to a level that, there's already people, where they're stealing the land of people. And they're saying, like when this fake railroad that they're trying to build a train from Fresno to wherever, that $1 billion boondoggle that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
You know how many people's land they took away and gave them nothing, and now this thing isn't even going, right. And it's going to be in the hundreds of millions,
right.
billions of dollars, and it's still not going to. They said if you were to ride that train right now, $800 a ticket to make it work, from what they're estimating. So it's going to be another subsidized train like Amtrak.
That's almost double what a plane ticket would be.
Yeah.
That's
our
crazy.
taxes, the way we're getting taxed right now, my wife, it's a joke. My wife wasn't working because I was making really good money. I make really good money, and we still get points where it's paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yay, California.
Yeah, and then she got a job. And she's my wife. Same situation with your wife. My friend had a business partner that wanted somebody to work for them. It's in San Luis too, but for her to make it work, she needed a good pay, and so she wrote down a number, and I told her one number, and she wrote down like way more than I thought, and she got the job.
Nice.
And it's great money for us. But here you go, a bill comes in the mail from IRS. You owe $2,000 here, and I looked at my wife, and now because my daughter goes to a private school, St. Joe's, we were getting part of that money subsidized. Now, because she makes that money, none of it. I've paid each for a year at that for the whole time, 4 years my daughters went to that school, like $30,000 or something like that. And so I paid that times 3, and I pay taxes. So they don't believe in the school voucher system because it's going to take away the liberal teachings and all they want to do with all that stuff. And so they don't want people going to private school because, if you go to private school, you're going to learn math, history, religion, and all the things that will bring you the good values.
Right.
And that's what they're afraid of.
Right.
They can't control you then.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to have you in an environment to control you. And that's, and we're trying to sit there and put a little money aside so we can retire, but
right.
They don't want to do that. They're basically what it is. I want you to work. And then when you make your money, I'm going to tell you where we're going to spend it. You don't know how to spend it.
Right.
But I want you to work. And I want you to work hard. So if you excel in this country right now, in this state, if you excel and get somewhere, we're going to take your money. And I'm not rich enough like the wealthy people to get a bunch of lawyers that know how to hide my money and do all this stuff. I'm not.
Right.
You know, thank God now I'm learning some stuff on YouTube and TikTok how you can do that. But it's making, you know, we're sitting there trying to find, you know, ways to do. Now they're talking about on Venmo, if you move more than $600, they're going to tax you. Or they're going to say, where'd that $600 come from? So you buy a piece of furniture from someone and you fix it up and then you sell and you make more than, I know a lot of friends that do that.
Right.
They make more than $600, that it's taxable income now, you know, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How much they want to take.
Well, it's just like when they tax your tips. I've always had an issue with that because it's like, that's a gift.
It's a gift.
Somebody's giving you a gift for your service, right? They're saying, I appreciate what you did. You went above and beyond. Here's your gift. Now, I don't agree that a tip should be mandatory. I don't like the places that say we add the gratuity already, because what if your service sucks? I mean, it used to be your tip was you saying, thank you. You really made our dinner enjoyable, or whatever, right? You got that pizza to me still hot, fresh, in a decent time frame, right? It's raining outside and you still were able to, you know, it's a gift. If the government comes in and says, we want a cut of that. Yeah. What are you going to tax next? My Christmas presents? I mean, what are you going to, you come in and say, oh, unwrap your gifts. What'd you get? Okay, we're going to tax 10% on that. Yeah. What are you doing? You know,
well, you're getting tax upon tax upon tax. And if you look at so where does that tax money go? What is it paying for?
Right.
That's always is it paying for something that benefits me? No, it's not. Right. It's not paying for the road because I pay that from gas tax. Right. So it's not paying for my health care because my health care is, well, we know what health care is right now. You know? So what is it paying for? And that's what we're getting into, you know, and I think that is probably the biggest danger right now. And I think all that stuff is going to build up and cause people to, and it's funny. It's like the people that make all the guns, the bullets and everything like that. Every time a Democrat gets into office, or like this, I noticed this last cycle of elections when the Republicans were supposed to win, gun sales were kind of steady. The moment the Democrats started to take a little better hold, and it wasn't what they thought, gun sales went up. Because I go to a gun store in San Luis, and I can go in and talk to these guys. Yeah. Best politicians in the world. They can tell you exactly what's going on. Right. Like right now, more African Americans, you hear it on the news, but it's true. More African Americans bought weapons than any other group out there. More women in the middle ages bought. Right. Yeah, more liberals. Remember that? You ever remember a while back in Louisiana, they decided to, I think it was Louisiana, they decided to pinpoint the people that owned guns. No, I don't. For the safety of other residents. That was their reason. They wanted to dot whoever had a gun license.
Or like a Megan's Law thing, but
no,
for
it was
guns?
Like a Megan's Law thing. So they did this thing, and as they were getting ready to do it, all the people that didn't have guns said, please don't put that up, because then everybody's going to know that I don't own a gun.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It singles out those that don't have guns now. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're doing this thing. They're trying to pass a bill between the Democrats and the Republicans. It's joined together, and the bill is going to be anybody that feels that they have mental instability, they can give up their Second Amendment rights. So they basically fill out this paper that says, I don't want to have weapons and whatever. And I thought to myself, you know, it would be great if I was that Republican on that, say, let's put that towards everybody. That anybody that feels that they don't want to have a gun, sign that form. So if you're a liberal or a Democrat or even whatever, you don't want to have a gun, you think they're dangerous, you can sign away your Second Amendment rights. Let's see how that goes. Here comes China. Let's see.
Right? Yeah.
This is, you know.
So the examples you've talked about so far, though, you talk about a civil war.
Yeah.
All those sound more to me more like the citizens rising against the government, taxes, that kind of thing. Is that the kind of civil war that you mean, or are you talking about
a version of it in little pockets? I don't see us going up against the whole U.S. federal government. I think.
But you're not talking about like citizens against citizens.
Oh no, I think it'll be citizens against citizens. I mean, you talk about Antifa.
Okay.
You know, you're already seeing it now. So there's right now there's a transgender group goes out there, and Antifa comes along and protects the transgender group. Well, there's the whatever the different groups, right-wing groups that are out there, and they're like protecting somebody doing speeches in a college or something.
Right.
And they come all dressed up in their flags and everything.
Yeah.
And I see a version of that escalating into a larger group is what I think. I don't think it's an all out, because I know a lot of people on both sides that are a little more level-headed. They're not going to get involved in that.
Right.
But I think for the extremes of both sides are going to, Antifa is growing, so there's more people joining that group, and the same thing with, there's, I forgot how many hundred, what you call parties that they have on the conservative side, the Tea Parties and all these.
Right.
Like the Tea Party has their own wing of a military group. There's a lot of, you go to Montana, northern Idaho. There's a lot of those groups out there, And
yeah, it makes you wonder how far they can go with it. I mean, I guess if they're getting so many more people, if they're constantly growing, that eventually they're going to have more sway. But you look at what they did, like in Seattle, what are they calling it, CHOP? Or whatever, right? They tried to set up that whole little thing within the city, and that lasted, a couple of weeks, I think, until somebody got killed and they had to bring them out.
Yeah, the mayor realized that's a stupid thing.
Right, exactly.
Still has the job, of course.
Of course.
But if you would they be able to do that in Montana? Would they be able to do that in parts of Texas? No.
Right.
Would they be able to do that in most of Tennessee?
Right.
Southern South Carolina? No.
Now, is that because of the conservative values that are prevalent in those states?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you again, like I said, I follow TikTok a lot, and there's a lot of people in France and protesting for the environment, and so they're blocking roads with bodies. Well, now they're showing pictures of these truck drivers. They're people that are trying to just live their life, and they're stopping and they're coming out into the streets and they're dragging these people off the streets. That's going to escalate at some point if the government doesn't take control of that, and do something about that. But when you start imposing all these things, I mean, look at that southern border right now. So now the state government in Texas is going after. They've created task force. They're going after in the interior of Texas after all these people now.
Right.
Well, eventually they're going to say, okay, we're going to start removing everybody out of our state.
Yeah.
And that doesn't belong here. They have a right to do that.
Right.
We have a right. We are losing our rights as our home. I know in your community right now, you have this housing rental development over here where people are parking up and down the street.
Yeah, and we're getting it taken care of as we speak.
And we were almost, so when we were looking for a house, we almost ended up over there because
the condos?
At the condos, because we could not find a place to live. There were no, the housing market was going great. There was no rentals. And we prayed on it. And literally the week before we had to get out of our house is when we signed paperwork in Fox and Woods for a home.
Okay.
Yeah. Literally, I was getting ready to actually pay $8,000 a month for a Airbnb in Avila Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I could not find anything that would take a dog. Plus we had the 2 cats. And so we came over here and I looked at it and then I said, you know what? I told her a nice place and they're nice and clean, but I know, who lives in that area. Well, I drove by one time on a weekend and just a bunch of young Hispanic men. I said, there's no way I'm going to have my daughter living here.
Right.
Because a lot of these are the farm companies rent these out for the guys. There's 10 guys living in one apartment. I don't want to be, I don't want anybody to think I'm against. I know who picks our food. I know who works hard out there in the field.
Right.
I bless them that they do that. But it's a difficult thing. And then I looked over here with all the cars parked. And I thought to myself, that's terrible that you have a neighborhood, you've invested in a home, and you don't get to enjoy it the way you want to.
Right.
And who are these people coming in and out of the neighborhood?
Right.
Young guys.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of dilemmas too, because I can feel for them, because it's like you have these condos, and my cousin used to live over there, so I've been inside. I know they give you a 2-car garage, and that's it.
Yeah.
So if you're having 6, 7, 8 people
living
all with their own vehicles, living in one condo.
Yep.
That's 5 cars that they have nowhere to put.
No.
Right. So I feel for them in a sense, but at the same time, I think that's not my problem. That's the condo's problem. They need
should
to,
actually find a parking lot somewhere and have a shuttle running back and forth.
They should.
That's what they should.
Right.
And that would be the perfect fix.
Yeah.
But you invest in homes. They keep on telling you over and over again, the American home, the middle class family investing in a home, that's what drives our economy.
Right.
That's what drives homes and stuff. Everybody needs to have a house. But then they want to stick. Now they did the whole thing where you can have a granny unit in the back of your house and you can rent it out to someone. So now they're in, and we live in the Fox and Woods, that's what people are doing. So now what you're seeing is more cars in the streets.
Right.
So this investment that you made is no longer what you wanted it to be. And that's where we're at right now. We're at that point. And one of the things I did want to talk about was, should, and this is the way I'll phrase it. It's not exactly the way I would say it needs to be, but should people have to qualify to have a child? So the way I look at this is I go back to I watch a lot of TV at late night, and so there's this all those food programs they're wanting to do, and you have these really sad stories about the kid in Africa. They show him he's starving and big belly and stuff.
Right.
Well, this one was my favorite. It was they panned, and it was like 6 kids, very young ages, all the way on up, lined up, sitting on a broken concrete and in a dirt field, and help. And then they show the dad holding a baby. The dad must have been 75 years old. I thought it was a grandpa. No, it was a dad. And the story is his wife died and needs to feed the family. The only thing I could say, and this might get a little, if I say it the right way so it doesn't sound bad, to himself, has he ever heard of a condom, or has he ever heard of a getting those tubes tied or something? How am I responsible? Because that horny guy keeps on cranking out kids, probably killed his wife with the 8th child he tried to pop out of her.
Right.
Am I responsible for that? Am I responsible for the people coming across the border with 17 kids? Where is the responsibility of that individual to take care of their kid? Right now, if you look in our community, there's all these young guys, 17, 18 years old. They're working in the fields. They're working wherever at the washing dishes. They're getting married because in the culture, it's okay to get married at a young age and have a kid. Because I was in construction, a lot of these guys, and I said, how are you going to support your kid? Well, I'm going to work 3 jobs. No, you're not. You're going to work 1 job, and then you're going to go on food stamps and get free medical over at the Santa Barbara facility over there. That's what you're going to do. That undermines me and my ability to earn and to keep some of my money.
Right.
Is it something wrong? And it's where I go down. That's where I start saying that you do need a license. Whether you're rich or poor, you need a license to have a child.
So what would that license look like? Would it be like you have to make a certain amount of money a year?
Yes, you have to show how you're going to provide.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it's social programs, I'm all for it. Let's whoever wants to participate on their tax form, they say, okay, I want $1 to go towards abortion clinics. I want $1 to go towards this, $1 this, and you fill that out, and your taxes go towards that.
Right.
What you believe in. You'll find out that most of those things are underfunded.
Right.
Because most people say one thing, but they believe something totally different.
Right.
And then also there's an education class that you take. You sit down and you take a class like you do in school about raising a kid. I don't know, mental stability test, Right. I mean, right now in this area, there's supposedly 100 or some kids that don't have a home right now that are in shelters because of abusive parents or parents on drugs.
Right.
What about that people on drugs having kids? What about all those homeless going up and down the street, humping each other and cranking out kids? Who ends up owning those kids?
So it's such a difficult thing because at the one end you can look at the parents of these children and say they're messed up. They have a drug problem, whatever the case may be, right? I agree with you. They shouldn't be becoming parents until they're ready to become parents, because being a parent is a big deal.
Right.
Those children are going to be the product of what you make them.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a big deal. You can't be on drugs. You can't have all these issues. It's going to cause problems. But then on the other side of that is these children that are already born. They're already living, breathing human beings. and it's not their fault, right? It's like they're not at fault. They're in dire straits, right? They're in these programs. They're in the foster care system. They're in all these things. And I'm glad we have those programs, but it's not the ideal life for them.
No.
And sadly, a lot of the kids that come out of those programs turn out just like their parents, and then the cycle just continues, and then they have kids while they're on drugs, and then you get,
and we keep paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so I guess the question is, because I agree with you in a large part of that, but I guess my question is, how do we fix that? Like, barring like going in and saying, okay, you're on drugs, we're going to do a forced, against your
chemical
consent,
castration.
Something, right?
That's what it's called.
Right.
It's called
Something that's going to prevent you from ever procreating ever again.
Yeah.
Whether it's the man, the woman, whatever needs to happen. So I guess you could, with that particular group of people, you could stop them from doing that, but then you still have the kids you got to do something with, and you got to take care of those kids somehow. Yeah. You can't just throw them out with the bathwater.
Well, it's like, let's just use a good one that's it's recent. We had a trickle at our border when the last president was. We started to get to the point where we were controlling our border. There was a bunch more we needed to do. We could get that point. That's not to say it would have been 100%. But now the flood has gone through. They want to make all 11 million people legal. It's more than that. It's 30 million people. People say the number is really low. But before we discuss that part, and the dreamers, let's shut the border down.
Right.
And hire judges so they can hear these people's cases that want to get in. Build the facilities to bring the people in, to get them ready if they're allowed to come in. H1 visas, so people can come over here and work, but they're not citizens. They'll never have rights of citizenship. They have to go the route all the legal people do.
Right.
So we start doing that. Now we got the stop. Now we got all the people in the country. Now we start going through and designating these people in categories. You've been here 30 years, 20 years, we make a number and we say, okay, you've been here 25 years, you've ran a business, you've paid the taxes, you've got good kids going to school. So what we're going to do is this is the path we're going to give you. But we're not going to give you the path that these people that are coming in legally, we're going to give you a more difficult path. But you're going to get that. And now we got people 10 years, whatever. There's a way to do this.
Yes.
But the problem is there's too many people making too much money off this. The people that are providing for the tents and everything at the border are making a ton of money feeding the food. They're business people that are connected to the politicians. They're making a ton of money. So they don't want the problem to go away. And that's the problem. It'll never go away. It will never go away. I tell everybody that. It'll never go away. There'll never be a solution for this. We can pray for it, dump all the money. Look at how much money we're dumping into homelessness in this state.
Right.
It'll never go, because it's too much money. It's a business. Homelessness is a business. And everybody makes money off it. Money comes into the state. If you really look at, a city like Santa Maria, $1 million comes in. How much do you think is administration of that $1 million? Probably 80%.
Yeah.
20% makes it out into the street, because now they can hire a bunch of people to work there.
Right.
Hire your cousin and whatever, and psychologists.
Yeah.
That's what's going on right now.
Which is why it seems like a lot of them don't want it to end.
No, they don't.
They want to keep the problem there because it's filling their pockets.
Yeah.
Or whatever
Poverty,
the case is.
Poverty Inc. is a great business. Homeless Inc. is a great business.
Right.
The illegal aliens, or whatever you want to call them, politically correct way, is a business.
Right.
And we all have to understand that. We're all making money. Not we're all. Somebody's making money off it. It'll never be fixed.
Right.
None of this stuff will be fixed. I mean, can you think of anything in your head? Just try to think of something that's been fixed by the government. What did the government fix, if there anything?
Right.
Nothing. I sat there one day. I said, let's see. We poured money into this and it's fixed.
Right.
Government hasn't fixed anything.
So you think it just puts small Band-Aids on stuff to make it look like they're fixing things, and then that they just go on to something else?
Yeah, and then the sheep keep on following the herder, because he's going to provide a little bit of token here. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you that, just like the free money they give during COVID.
Right,
and they've lost like hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know where it went.
Right.
Or the money that they poured into Iraq and Afghanistan. Truckloads just disappeared.
Right.
we all understand what this is.
Right.
It's and what's going on right now at the missile testing in Ukraine. You know, we're testing all our technology and missiles and all
Right.
that stuff. But we're all in this business together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
So you're elected governor today of California, let's say, and your first task is to fix the homelessness problem. Where do you start?
I would first categorize them. So there's a category there. So the homeless is a bad word. Homeless is somebody that doesn't have a home, that had a home. So your wife loses her job, you lose your job, you're on the street living with your kids. That's a homeless. There's a drug addicts and mentally ill. So that's the people you want to deal with. You want to get the homeless into shelters, which will be easy to do. Then you want to take the mentally ill and put them into a facility. So I would put money into facilities
To help them with their mental illness.
Or because they're mentally ill, they'll never be better. It'll be medication and whatever it is, but they'll have to be in a facility. That's what's going to have to happen. They did it in New Jersey. It worked.
Right.
And then...
Wow, New Jersey of all places.
Yeah, believe it or not, but they got tired of it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then you got the ones that are just drug addicts. So you put them in the drug programs and you wean them off the things, and then you make the laws that it's public property, but you cannot hang out here. You cannot. It's not allowed.
Right.
It's not allowed.
So back to the drugs, though. So would that be like a mandatory putting them into drug programs?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they want help or not. Okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunately if somebody has to declare it a public emergency. You have to declare it a public emergency, a state emergency first, so that all these lawyers that come along and try to sue and make money off it can't make money off it. And, you know, because those guys that are coming to defend these people, guess where they get their money from?
Yeah.
You and me.
Right.
To do that, you know,
Right.
so that's why you do that. Now that starts the fixing of the problem. And there's pockets in the state of California, Texas, all over that have that. You can't go on that street.
Right.
Look at, if you go to San Luis Obispo right now, they were along the freeway, they were along every street.
All
and
the tents and stuff.
all of a sudden, you know, I'm on Tank Farm Road, it's like a full-on patch of tents all the way down. And then one day I go there, they're gone. How did they remove them? What right did they use to remove them? It's there.
Right.
It's just got to be enforced.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Did they go in there and just clean it all up?
They cleaned it all up and said, no, you can't come here. You cannot do
where
this.
did they send those people?
They dispersed on different parts of the area. They just, you know, they go under the bridge. If you go to San Luis, there's a creek. It's full of trees. One of our car washes.
Like in downtown San Luis, right there
Downtown
by
San Luis, they're all
that
in
real
those
pretty area by the Discovery Museums over there.
And
there's
Prado
that
Lane over there. That's where the main facility is.
That's a nice area. Are you saying it's all full of homeless encampments now?
And that little, right along the freeway, there's a big green belt right there. They're all big tents all over there.
Okay.
And Madonna Road, they're all over there. They're behind my car wash. They live, they, you know, terrorize our employees in the morning. Drug addicts. So they're hard to deal with.
Right.
I've run in several times with them. And I've only seen one couple the entire time that I've been there that I can actually classify as homeless. The one guy told me, he says, why do I need to be in a place? I have the food card, which he gets as free groceries. He gets $600 a month from the state, and then he's getting money from disability. And he says, what he likes to do is drugs, and he gets free clean needles, and the needles also are in the riverbed, the little stream bed in the back. But boy, if I drop any kind of chemical or from the car wash, or they think I did, they come out and like, you know,
you're out of business.
Yeah, I one time was talking to one of the homeless, and the homeless advocate drove by and said, you can't harass people. I go, I have a right to talk to someone. I go, right now.
He was telling you not to harass the homeless guy?
I said, you're harassing me right now. I'm going to call the police if you don't desist from harassing me, and I'll sue you. I said, I have the legal right to have a conversation with anybody I want.
Right.
Well, you can't harass him. I go, you want to continue this conversation? And I haven't seen him since. Okay. Yeah, because they would try to pitch tent. They harass our customers. They try to panhandle our customers. And, you know, they're sitting there, you know, vacuuming, older women vacuuming their cars. And all of a sudden there's this homeless person standing behind them begging for money. And now they're getting a lot more aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting very, very aggressive with the money.
Yeah.
You know, I never give money out. I never do. It's just the guys in the street corner. I will tell everybody, you're not doing anybody a favor. They'll disappear. They'll go away if you stop giving them the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's this right over here by the freeway, Betaravia on the freeway. They used to have the panhandlers all the time over there. Now they have signs up, and I haven't seen them there in a long time. But a friend of mine who lives out of state now, but he spent a while as being homeless. Like he was literally living in tents and stuff, and used to be on drugs before that, but he was clean, and so he understands that whole lifestyle is my point. But he says, you really want to see what's going on. He says, sometimes not in your car. He says, just walk down the side right there where all those people are standing. He said, you're going to see just mounds and mounds of food in the package still, totally untouched, because people are like, because they have a sign, I'm hungry. Yeah. I'm hungry.
They want money.
They want money because they want to get drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that's every person. I'm sure for it's probably the majority, but I'm sure there are guys out there that really are just hungry, but it's hard to be able, because it's not like you're going to sit there and have an hour-long conversation with the guy before you decide what to give him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like most people are just gonna be like, oh, I feel bad for this guy. He's out there with his dog. Sometimes I've seen people with a baby or whatever. And of course that tugs the heartstrings more. And you're like, oh, I'll give this guy some money. It's not real. It is. It might be his kid. Where'd you steal that kid from? Yeah. But it's hard because I think most people, religious or not, are compassionate to the point that they want to help these people, but they're leery because they don't want to continue to support their drug habits. Right. But they generally like I don't think there's anybody. I shouldn't say there's anybody. I think for most people, if somebody came to them and said, "Man, I'm starving. I'm literally starving. I promise you I will not get drugs. You can go with me if you want. Take me down to McDonald's, get me a Big Mac or whatever. I will eat it in front of you. I'm starving." I think 99% of people would say, "Okay, I'll help you. If they have the money, they'll help." Right?
That's a complete different thing. Right. I will tell you right now, if we stopped helping these people by giving them the money, they say our services are strained right now. We don't have as much money. It needs to get that way, though. The people need to line up. They need to be, and sad to say, dying in the streets before our state will take any action towards it, because it is a big problem. But our area, ever since they built the Prado Center, which is near one of my car washes there in San Luis, it's attracted so many people. I've had probably up to 5 or 6 homeless work for us, and typically we need a physical address, but we use the Prado Center, or we'll use a P.O. Box mailing address for them. I had one gentleman named Stephen, who worked for me. He had a wife, and Stephen was probably in his 40s, and I paid Stephen $17 an hour to clean the car wash, basically in the mornings and the afternoons.
And this was a homeless guy?
Homeless guy.
Okay.
He didn't have transportation, so our maintenance guy would drive him to each location. Stephen lived in a tent on Los Osos Barrow Road. There's a Home Depot there. Before that, there's all this dirt and stuff and these trees. They've cut it down a little bit. He lived in a pretty nice tent in there. And we ended up buying him a better tent. We bought him an air mattress because his wife is handicapped. So they made $900 a month off her money, her disability money. She was in a wheelchair. And so you can imagine pushing him around. And so then also we paid for stays at the Motel 6, which is right around the corner from us. And so he'd stay there to take showers and stuff like that. And then we let him do laundry because we have washing dry machine at our place in the bathroom. We'd let him clean himself up there. We just told him, you can't bring your wife here and be living here. Right. And he worked for us for 6-7 months, and then Christmas came, and it was hard for him to get around, so we ended up buying him a bicycle for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
It's great. You want it to be this great ending story.
It's like a Hallmark movie.
He ended up assaulting his wife.
Oh, man.
She was a very hardcore person. He ended up assaulting her. He ended up going to jail for, I think, got 6-7 years. Must have been really bad.
Dang.
Yeah. So he's in jail. She wanted to get his check. We couldn't give him his check. He has to approve it. He finally approved it. So she had money. We, from what we understand, is she somehow, from the help from someone that worked with us, got into a housing program for disability, and that's where she is right now. Yeah. But I had young girls that were on drugs and were doing a treatment program that, well, I got their names and they work for us, and then they get back on their drugs again. You just see that it's a vicious cycle. You know, I have 2 sisters that passed away from alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I watched it. My dad threw a ton of money at it, a ton of money. $10,000 a month stay at a rehabilitation, the best alcohol center in LA, and didn't work. And then my other one, we think she died from COVID back. She died in 21, I think, 20. She died from COVID because she had very bad asthma. And when we went to her apartment, finally, we went to clean up the stuff. All her little vials that she had to put in her little machine, she had gone through every single one of them. And apparently the manager of the apartment was a friend of hers, found her passed out in the hallway. And it was tough for my dad because she was always crying wolf. And my dad was always coming down. She was in San Pedro. He's by the airport, coming down, taking her to the, you know, and this homelessness, she was homeless. She lived on the streets, and then she finally got into this apartment. And she's super intelligent, college educated, smartest one in our family. I have a younger sister, but just couldn't. Even my older sister, very successful, super great job, had a nice house in Agora Hills and everything, but alcohol and drugs, you know, and you cannot. They say the statistics is, 20% success rate. I think it's less than that, but that's a success rate with a very supportive structure. If you don't have a supportive structure, so what happens to people that don't have the income? They go to the clinics, they get off it, and they go back out into the mean streets. Right. It's that's why I say it can't be fixed.
Well, it's almost like, that's why I asked you the question about it being a mandatory. Like, because if you leave it just up to the people that are addicted, it's going to be exactly what you're saying. It's going to be this constant cycle of getting clean, sometimes for even years being clean. Yeah. And then just like that, you're tempted, you're there, maybe just once. And then you're right back where you were before 2 years of sobriety, and but then you have a problem with the mandatory, because even then, for how long? I mean, is it indefinite? It's all right, you're going to live here for the rest of your life?
It's got to be, it might have to be. We might end up, go see what they build in China. They have miles and miles of housing. It might have to be something like that. You might have to, in the middle of the desert. Well, I don't know where.
Housing all for people in
that
treatment?
Treatment, and you can't get. So you have different levels. They get out of it. They're fixed, not fixed, but they are off it. Now you go to the next level where you're living in a home with a bunch of people, and I don't always agree that you should all live in a home of people that are recuperating from the same thing.
Right, because you can be bad influences on each other.
And then you go from that to a work, but you have a structure of people help. I think the church is the best group of people to help this problem. Fund the churches, fund the, and get people believing in something. Right. Believing in something else that they can hold on to, and then start getting them back into. But yes, there's going to be a percentage of people, that's what they like doing. But now we got the worst drug of all, fentanyl.
It's horrible.
And you can't beat it.
No.
You can't beat fentanyl.
Yeah, almost every time now when you hear in the first news reel or whatever, so-and-so dies of, or so, it just says so-and-so found dead. Right, and there's never any details to begin with, or somebody celebrity or some TikToker or something, right? Some well-known name that most of the time I don't even know them because I'm not really involved in that stuff anymore. But then weeks go by, and then I always see the headline: "So-and-so's cause of death revealed." And it's weeks later, and almost every time it has something to do with fentanyl. Yeah, almost every time.
And you start going into that, like thinking about what is going on here. They're not shutting the border down. They're allowing drugs and weapons to get through. I mean, people don't realize, you talk about gun control. Do you have any idea the amount of weapons that are coming into our country right now? Yeah. Yeah. ridiculous amounts.
Right.
And why are they not stopping it?
That's a good question. What's your answer to that?
My answer to that is because, as I said before, it's a business. We're in a business. It's who's making the money. Follow the trail. Who makes the money?
Right.
So who's building the weapons, the guns, the bullets? Who is doing the social programs? Who is benefiting from putting the uniforms on all the officers or providing them the boats, the cars, all that stuff? They want more money. They want more. Why are they wanting 86,000 IRS agents?
Right.
What is the
So you think it's the government that's involved?
I think it is. I think our government is involved in such to a level with the Mexican government, with the Canadian government. I think it's all a thing of trying to get us in a controlling place.
And do you think that's straight across the board? Doesn't matter if it's Republican president or Democratic president?
I don't think it. I don't
you think
it
Trump had just as much to do with it as Biden does?
I don't think Trump himself.
Okay.
If we think that Biden, or we think, come on, is he running anything? No.
Right.
It's underneath. You got to get down to the layers.
Right.
Who put him there? Who put Trump there?
Right.
Who's putting these people there? Who doesn't matter who it is.
So it's almost a matter of the president really doesn't have any real say so in any of it anyway. It's like this is the way the river's flowing. You either jump in the boat or you get off the boat.
Yeah.
But you can't get in the boat and start going against the current.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to happen.
Why does everybody think? Why did Trump get attacked so viciously for his 4 years? And still to this date, if you argue with somebody about anything political, they'll go into Trump as their backup. That's the only place they can go.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Why do you think that man caused so much stir and had so many people attacking him from both sides?
Well, obviously because he's a racist, homophobic, woman-hating jerk.
Oh, definitely. He did the best thing for Christians.
Right.
To solidify the strength of the church. He did everything that scares the crap out of everybody else on both sides. And that's what's going on right there.
And I think they couldn't buy him. And I think that's what frightened them too, because there's always that level of, well, if we don't like what they're doing, we can always get the Greens to push them some way. Trump was the kind of guy that said, I already have money.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy me out.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I want to do. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I'm going to do whatever I want to do. You can't stop me.
Yeah, look it up someday, but look up the net worth of the person going into office and net worth going out. Trump was worth so much when he went into office.
Yeah.
He dropped it's a quarter of his value.
Right.
Go look at what Obama. Go look at Biden right now. The net worth of both of those. Well, Biden, you can't because he's been politicians all his life. But look at Obama. Obama is a multi-millionaire. He wasn't He wasn't even a millionaire when he went into the office.
Right.
But he did so many good things for his buddies. Now that here's a house, here's this. I mean, his compound in Hawaii. He's on a place. Have you heard about his place?
No.
He's on the beach. Compound.
In Hawaii.
Okay. I forgot what island it is.
This is where he's living now?
Huh?
This is where he's living?
It's his main place of living. It's one of his houses.
One of his houses.
But this house is on a beach, and the beach has erosion problems. So you can only build a certain way. Well, he needed a wall to protect his property. He built this wall.
Really? He wanted a wall?
He had this wall.
Interesting.
To stop the ocean from taking his, Biden's wall, the Biden's fence, and walls don't do anything.
No.
They don't
Obviously,
stop anything
right.
around your property. They don't do anything.
Not at all.
So he somehow was able to change the regulations of the county and to get this. Even other rich people that are really rich couldn't get it done. He got it done. He got the house next door torn down, put his one property, and built. Look it up. It's you can see the Google Earth of this thing.
Right.
And they built this. They said it's going to erode the sand and it's going to damage on both sides his neighbor's property just because of the way of what he's doing. Of this, it's a phenomenal compound he's building. He's personally involved in this thing. They talk about it all the time. But
what's he planning to do?
Huh?
He just wants to live there? He just wants to be safe?
Probably.
Protect
a
himself?
lot of them are trying to defend themselves from the chaos they're going to about ready to,
And just let the rest of us deal with it.
Yeah, the rest of us.
I'm in my safe glass house over here.
My glass house. you hear them yelling and screaming about the poverty and the stuff of people,
Right.
but they don't even know their own people.
Yeah.
It's a crack up. But I do have one question I had for you is, and I had mentioned it to you, what is a living wage?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
And the only reason I want to talk about it
Yeah.
is I've been had employees all my life. I'm very passionate about this subject because I've seen the damage this word has done. What is a living wage? What's that mean?
To me,
Yeah.
well, to me, a living wage would be something you can live off of, right? Like an hourly wage. Well, see, that's where it gets dicey, right? It depends on where you're at, who you're,
So let's just say you're in Kentucky, where the average medium, I think, is $28,000 a year.
Right. But you can buy a house for $120,000.
Over there you can buy a house for $40,000-$50,000.
Right.
Yeah, because nobody wants to live there.
Right.
It's pretty some areas are deprived. I don't mean to knock anybody in Kentucky. But
Right.
from what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not ever showing pretty Kentucky.
Right.
Well, the farmlands and the horse ranch. But what is a living wage? So the battle has been and I'll use the example of McDonald's because that's the one everybody saw the most. The people out there protesting wanting to get $15 an hour.
Right.
So someone with no skills whatsoever, none.
Right.
Your child turns 16, should start working at $15 an hour.
Right.
Your burger at this time costs about $2 an hour. All of a sudden, you're finding out your burger's costing $3 now.
Yep.
Are you willing to pay that to provide a living wage?
Right.
But that's across the board with everything you're doing. What's happened right now is our wage is supposedly going to go up to $15.50 an hour.
Right.
So then if there's a supervisor, he needs to now, or she needs to now make
more.
Yeah, because if you're a supervisor
and you're making the same amount as the guy,
how much more should you make than the $15.50? Are you willing to? So the truth is, they want to make at least $20 an hour.
Right.
This is everything I'm telling you is actual fact.
Yeah.
I'm living it right now.
Right.
And then what's the manager need to make? The manager wants to make around $32, $33 an hour.
Right.
In California, the manager has to make double the minimum wage. Great law, by the way.
Yeah.
That they put into place by the labor.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. So
if they raise the minimum
manager right
wage
now in California this year at the $15 an hour needs to make $64,500 a year.
Is that only in the fast food world?
I think it's about six. No, it's across the board.
Well, then how would you? So any manager
okay needs to make that. They need to make double the minimum wage. Yeah. So this is where we're at right now. So what's a maintenance guy that works at the car wash want to make now? I'm fighting Toyota dealerships, car dealerships to get a mechanic to do repairs. They want to make about $35 an hour.
Right.
Toyota's offering jobs at $100,000 a year.
Right.
So then I got my customers that don't want to pay more money for all this stuff.
Right.
What is a living wage?
So I think a living wage should be something that you build up to.
Thank you.
I don't think a living wage should be entry level. I think whatever your job is, and I don't care about your age either. I don't care if you're 50 and you start a job at a grocery store, you shouldn't go in there starting as a manager making $40 an hour.
Yeah.
I think you should start as a box boy making whatever the normal minimum wage should be. And then you show through years of dedication and good service that you're a good employee, and the managers will see you, they'll promote you, they'll build you up, and then eventually you can live off of your paycheck. I don't think my son should be, or my daughter should be making enough money to buy a house when she gets her first job at 16 at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous because there's that problem. And then there's the problem, like you said, about everything going up. And that's what these people don't understand. They're fighting, I want to make $15 an hour, minimum wage, $15 an hour. And to them, they're just looking at the numbers and they're saying, okay, this means right now I'm making $12 an hour. If I'm making 15, look at my paycheck will be this instead of this. Yes, sign me up. Let's do it. Yeah. But what you don't understand is now a peanut butter sandwich is going to cost you $7. So yes, you're making more per hour, but everything that you buy costs more now. So you're really in the same boat you were in to begin with.
You know what that is, though?
What's that?
How can the government separate you, the business owner, from your profit.
Right.
How are they going to get it? They ain't going to get it. They're going to get it from taxes. You know, they can say, okay, I need, if you make over this much, but the easiest way to get it from is from your labor. It's traceable, it's trackable. So they're going to take that money that you're paying, and now that person's going to be paying taxes on that.
Right.
Plus you're paying taxes on that.
Right.
And that's what it is. The more money that goes in, the more money they get in their greedy little hands. And that's what's going on right now. Because someone that's making $15 an hour, I remember $10 an hour, $11 an hour when I started at the car washes. My average hourly wage was $11.25. When I was a Home Depot manager back in the days, we were back down to $8, whatever. But we had the same problem in that company when I started out with them. They were still a young company. They had a couple thousand stores, but they had the story is it's a guy that worked in the lot that was pushing the carts. He worked for them for I think it was 7 years. Stayed in the lot. Did not want to go inside the store and work. He had this job. He was making $21 an hour pushing carts. Of course.
Wow.
So they started to create a tier that says, okay, the lot tech, the highest they're going to make is this much money.
Right.
And that's what should happen. And that's what I created in our job, to say that you're going to make this much, you're going to make this much. If you want to make more, you have to take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the right thing to do.
Yes, 100%.
But to sit there and say, you know what, you can flip burgers for $15 an hour when burgers are costing $2 something. That's not the right way to do it.
Right.
And that's the danger we're in right now, is that people, the incentive of starting a business in California, it's too difficult. There's too many rules and regulations, and that's why they're talking about these big companies leaving. How many small businesses, and I feel for these people. I look at these companies that are opening up right now. There's actually, I saw a sign for it's called Bunt Cakes.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I would think they maybe last a year.
Yeah.
I think that's
this new place is right over here.
Yeah, they're not going to last.
Yeah.
I will put money on it. Anybody want to call me up and bet me? I'll put money, $1,000 right now.
They already tried to open one of those over by on Main Street right there, across from by that Subway on Main Street. That didn't even last a year, I don't think.
How many bun cakes do you got to sell? What is the margin on bun cakes?
Right.
And how many you got to sell to pay the rent for that place?
Right.
Have you ever looked at this shopping center over here that we're right next to Walmart, the big one?
Yeah.
They're owned by a big real estate firm that's got all these facilities up and down the coast. That square foot rent for that place, triple net, is ridiculous.
Right.
So when somebody opens up a business over there, I mean, they don't last very long. And every time I see somebody open a business over there, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I feel so bad. Yes, they opened up that what is that buffet over there?
Oh, Golden Corral.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fail.
Right. I still haven't been there. Have you?
Huh? No, I will never.
You don't like buffets.
No.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
That's right.
We went
because we went to a marriage conference or something. Yeah, and we went somewhere. I think we ended up going to the. Not Old Spaghetti Factory. What's the other one? Macaroni Grill.
Macaroni Grill.
And you were talking about how because I think maybe there was a buffet nearby. So, let's go there. And Laura goes, no, John won't do buffets.
So the whole process, if you think about them cooking it in the back, to dumping it, to bringing it out, to everybody breathing on it.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing.
Well, that's how you build up your immune system, man. That's how you stay off the sick list.
That's why the one over at Buffet whatever by the theater shut down.
Oh, Hometown Buffet. Yeah.
I think they poisoned enough people.
I used to like it there.
Yeah, and now they got this one over here.
Yeah, which I haven't been to yet, but I liked Hometown because I like having the variety. I like that I could be eating a piece of meatloaf and a taco and a piece of lasagna.
Well, Sizzlers was the opener.
Oh yeah, Sizzlers. Yeah.
I mean,
that hasn't been there forever.
There's a couple left still.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple left. Yeah.
I don't know where.
Yeah.
But yeah, how funny. I remember that about that. You said the buffet thing, and I was like, oh, that's right. He doesn't like buffets. Weird old memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, I think we're in agreement that on the living wage thing, like you're not saying that I believe that every person should have the opportunity in America to build up to the point where they can make a living.
Yes.
Right? I think that it doesn't matter.
Work hard at it. Because you appreciate it more. Look at the people coming into this country, how much they appreciate what they get when they get it, even if it's not a lot, because they don't have that in their countries. Why does anybody know why they're coming across the border? No, they're not coming across the border because we're going to have all these social programs and stuff. They have an opportunity to build their business. If I look at I was in construction business most of my life. Management I've always been in. I've had a bunch of young guys work for me.
Right.
I have this one gentleman that he was a citizen. He was trying to get his father as a citizen. He worked for me for 5 years doing construction. He now is married, has a house here in Santa Maria.
Nice.
I think he's fixing up another house. He works for a guy down in Santa Barbara that flips homes, and he's got kids. He's got nice vehicles. He didn't know any construction when he started with me. He knew how to dig the holes, and I taught him how to frame, tile. I taught him all the skills that he has that he uses now to earn a living. I've done that for several people, but they want to work.
They want it. Exactly. That's the key.
Our kids don't want to work.
No.
You and I did soccer together. Remember, they used to do the trophies, and there was a lady that was a soccer coach. And one year, our daughters were about the same age. She had a team, and I remember she was giving a speech, and our team came in third. Her team came in first, and then she started talking about, everybody's a winner here, and we're all winners. And I yelled out, my wife, walked away. I said, no, we're not. We lost.
Yeah,
we're third place.
Nice.
And some of the parents were looking at me like, other people like going.
Other ones were looking at you like, how dare you step on these little girls' dreams?
I've always taught my daughters is, what, there is a winner. And there are losers. It has to have a winner. You have to have losers, and that's what we're missing in our country right now. We're putting it all together. We're making it all safe. And so these are the people. And I'm telling you right now, the kids that I have working for me, we're in trouble.
Right.
We're in trouble. They don't know a lot of. They don't know. I mean, I gave a kid a broom one day, and he was standing around looking at his phone. So do you know that some of these kids believe that is a First Amendment right to be able to look at their phone?
I'm sure.
They do.
Yeah.
I've been told that.
Yeah.
I've been in my face that I'm gonna have a lawyer come because you're violating my First Amendment right. I said, actually, no, I'm not paying you to do that.
Right.
So I was teaching this kid how to sweep. He says, I've never done this.
Right.
I said, so you push this thing and it moves the dirt over there. So I watched this kid work. So he did a section, but there was leaves and everything over there.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you got it over there. Well, you didn't tell me to go do that.
Oh my gosh.
But I want you to do this whole area. He goes, to what point though? And
there's nothing left on the floor.
There's nothing left. I mean, this is what employers have to do right now.
Right.
To get your kids. Parents have to take more responsibility. They have to say, you know what, enough video games, enough looking at your phone. This is what you need to do. These are the things you need to do in the house,
Right.
To live in this house for me to pay your bills.
Yes.
But it's not what's going on right now.
No.
Right now, they're out there shopping for high-end stuff for their kids, so their kids can go to school and show off to everybody else what they have, or show their friends,
which does nothing for them. It just makes them more entitled, makes them think everything's
They're going to be living with you.
Right.
25, 26, 30 years old.
Right.
They'll be living with you.
Yeah.
You wonder who the people are going out there doing the shootings and stuff. I mean, look at what's going on in the schools.
Right.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
These are people that have been bullied by your kids.
Right.
And I'm saying your kids, but bullied by your kids, and now they're going back and they're shooting them up. That's what it is. It's not the gun. Not the gun. Take the gun away. They'll figure out another way to do it.
Right.
And so we have we have a lot going on. It goes into other subjects.
Yeah, for sure. But let's flip the script a little bit and talk about spirituality.
Okay.
Which I'm sure will intertwine with some of the things we've just been talking about, because I'm sure you and I see that's a big part of the problem, right? Is a lot of the idea of you have no worth, there is no God,
Foundation.
Whatever makes you happy is all that matters. None of this putting others above yourself garbage from this Jesus guy, who is he, this guy from thousands of years ago. But first, just kind of start off a little bit. You had said something in an email that I didn't know about, how you started off as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, I remember at a very young age, I guess maybe is the correct word, religious. I believed there was a maker, that I prayed.
You believed that from a young age?
Very young age.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. I think it came from my mom because she was raised Catholic in Fiji Islands. That's where my parents were born. And so she went to Catholic school. So she, kind of showed me the praying thing. And then my oldest sister got in Jehovah's Witness. And so, and it was through my mom, somebody knocking on the door.
Okay.
And we started studying and, going. And then as I got older, they put me with a younger man that was teaching me. But the stuff didn't fit. The people at the church didn't fit the people I saw. And it's true.
How old are you at this point?
Probably high school age.
Okay.
Yeah, through high school. And none of it fit. And it was very disruptive in my life because I was involved in a lot of stuff, drugs,
right,
dating, and at that time I had a girlfriend and we were having sex and it was like, you can't do this. And there was a point where I told her I couldn't have sex with her, which really disrupted our life.
Because you were leaning with the Jehovah's Witness doctrine?
Yeah, but as I started to open up and seeing the Jehovah's Witness, and this is what comes to my head all the time. When they talk about heaven or being in this place, and I look at the people I go to church with and I say to myself, I don't want to be in heaven with these people. Seriously, even I said, if this is who I'm surrounded with, I said, and this is where I start getting into, is our minds going to open up? Is the veil that's on my face going to open up and I can accept these people that I'm around? But
right.
I don't like a lot of these people.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
There's the range of people at church. There's the holier than thou crowd, and I think you maybe use a different word, that they just espouse this verbiage that comes out of their mouth that almost sounds like a poetry, but it's not real.
It's like phony. It's like a false front.
Yeah, and then there's the ones that they're better than you. They come up better. They're more knowledgeable than you.
Right.
They've been around for a while. They have their little clique in the church, and they do their things. And so I look at the people, and when I even looked at Jehovah's Witnesses, they were just having to wear a suit. I looked in their Bible. I was trying to figure out where.
Yeah.
I told my friend, I go, where the heck do they say you got to wear?
It's in Second Opinions, chapter 7.
Second Opinions. I looked at that and I'm like, and then I looked at all these like the rituals. I call them all rituals.
Yeah.
You come in and you do this first, then you do this first, then you do that every month, and you look at all these rituals, and I'm like, who's making up all this stuff? What if when it's all said and done, we walk in front of the Lord and he says, what I'd like you to be? All I wanted you to do was be good to other people. I wanted you to talk about me, have conversations about me. I wanted you to make sure you fed people that needed to be fed. I wanted to make sure that you knocked on the doors of your neighbors, and when they needed their lawn mowed, you mowed their lawn. When you looked at the old lady that lives by herself, you went by her house and maybe just said a few kind words when you went down the street. That's all I wanted you to do. That was Jesus. They say live like Jesus. We all think that Jesus going around talking about God the whole time. No, he was an example of just goodness. Right. And if we're all good to each other in this earth, if we're all good to each other and we help each other out, God doesn't need to do anything.
Right.
But we're not. And in church, it's probably the most area where I see we struggle the most is in our churches. Why do we church hop? Why are we not happy where we're at? It's because of the people around us. They don't make us feel like they're the people of the Lord.
Yeah.
They don't make you feel welcome. They don't. They're just they're just like the rest of the world, but worse. They're kind of false prophets. You're surrounded by them, or the pastors that sit there and give the message every day. They're disconnected from the message. I had mentioned is like, I think, do pastors or priests, they go to this school where they say, okay, here's what you're going to do is when you preach the gospel, please try to bore people to death. Don't connect with them. Just tell your life stories and just bore the crap out of them.
Right.
So when they go home, at least they'll feel like I drove into the building. I was there this weekend. We didn't go to church Sunday. So, that's check mark against us. But there's some people that go every single week. They're no different. When you see them in the street, they're not any nicer.
Right.
They're just same old.
But they have the gold star.
Yeah. They haven't
Sunday.
invited you to their house.
Right.
When they talk to you at church, it's like you're talking to a stranger, and you see them week after week after week, and they're still the same stranger.
Right.
Right. So it's church has been a challenge, and going from a Jehovah's Witness to a Christian. Like, I will tell you, I can't recite verses. I have adult ADD. I actually found out probably 6 years ago. The last company I worked at, they actually sent me to, before they promote you into higher levels of leadership, they actually hook you up with a psychiatrist that looks at how you think and all that stuff. And that psychiatrist had ADD. And so when he started talking to me, when I go into meetings in my in the job I had, I would be sitting with all these engineers because it was a solar company, and I would be pacing back and forth, or I'd be making funny comments.
Right.
And our VP sat down with me on my review and got a good review, but she said one thing. I want to bring it up. She goes, it's difficult for me to bring this up. She goes, people are intimidated by you. They don't know how to take you. And I go, why is that? She goes, you're always making off color remarks about different things. And I go, because the meetings are utterly boring. They're a waste of time. I go, I absolutely learned nothing. I go, we sit there looking at PowerPoints.
Right.
This is how I feel sometimes about church. I have a hard time reading the Bible. When I read the Bible, my mind starts leaving.
Even when you read it on your own, like outside of the church? Okay.
If I'm reading Ephesians or if, the Psalms, sometimes, anything historical, I'm connected.
Okay.
But when it goes into all the stuff of God wants you to guess what he's saying here.
Yeah.
And now you need to go and read 5 other versions of it from different people. Look at their podcast or their YouTube videos, and they'll explain it. And I actually searched how to study the Bible. And there's all these from young people to old people. I stopped listening to older people because there's nothing new there. Younger people have gotten better. And I finally found a young girl, just normal, looks like she's college age. And what she does is she'll read it 3 times. Whatever section, she says, however much you want to read it 3 times, write down what you think it says. Then she has these lists of people that you can go to that kind of tell you what it's saying. And then she says, now write down what you're going to do about it this week. And I thought, okay, that's working for me.
So like an application kind of thing?
An application, yeah. So how will you apply that? So I started on Ephesians talking about, John and how the Lord, represented himself, but people didn't believe. And so how are you going to apply that? I struggled with it a little bit, said, okay, let's just have a conversation with someone and somebody about, so I'm going to check this off as you and me.
There you go.
So, yeah. So I try to do the way I look at my church is my life. And I struggle. I try to live the way my God wants me to live. And I try to help people in my work. What I try to do is provide a job for people with opportunity to grow. I teach them, I educate them. There's young people that work for me. I try to talk to them about school. And this is what I talk about. Everybody knows that, I love the Lord at work. They understand. But it is a little, when they see me, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about this guy. He's a little off there.
Right.
But that's the way I look at religion for me. You know, I mean, churches helps keep me connected in a way that I can't find myself.
Right.
But when I look at pastors, as another human being. They're just up there. I don't put them up to a different level or anything like that.
Well, that's the way they should look at themselves as well.
Yeah, and that's why I think I like Chuck. His whole entire family is like that, and I like that. And we're happy where we're at right now. And it was getting my wife, to also go, because she's more of the Lutheran faith, very structured.
Yeah.
And so she's had a hard time with, but I think we found ourselves a good home, and we have conversations about, what goes on our drive back home. It's really great.
Oh, see,
it's a
awesome.
20 minute drive from.
It's a nice drive too.
It's a nice drive. It's a beautiful drive, and we talk about how that affected us. Sometimes it's like I didn't go learn anything. Sometimes it's like I didn't realize what she took from it, and then now we can have a conversation about it. Yeah.
So what was it? What got you out of Jehovah's Witness into Protestantism, for lack of a better term? Was it that what you saw in Protestantism was more compelling? It was more believable?
It was more believable. It was able to apply to life.
Okay.
When someone says that you can't get medical attention or certain types of medical attention, when your kids can't play football or this type of sports, or you can't be it said, where are you coming up with this ridiculous rules?
Right.
And then it just really started to get, and then hearing stories about someone leaving the church and you can't be friends with them anymore.
Right.
That's not God.
Right.
That is not God.
Well, that's how I believe, I might be getting this wrong, but I believe that's how my mother-in-law had a hard time with that part. Because they were, Bethany was Jehovah's Witness early on in her life. And so I think she said she celebrated her first Christmas when she was like 10 or something. Because her parents had gotten out of the church. But from what I understand, that was one of the biggest issues for them, because they're the close family, and all this. And if the church starts telling you, okay, if your family members aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, you can't associate with them.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? How's that work? Like,
well, and in 1980, it was supposed to be the end of the world.
Right.
For the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's one of many dates they picked.
Right.
And then they come up with this, and then then it was this Watchtower Society of these old white men up in a building sitting there making the rules for everybody.
In New York, I think it was.
Yeah, New York, And I'm like, none of this, it all. And then I finally challenged someone knocking on my door. I said, well, let me tell you about, my Lord, and they said, I'll give you the same amount of time. Couldn't give me the time of day. Right. And so when God is not that. Right. God is not ever about it. We are each individual. We're looked at separately and how we live our lives, and we'll all be judged. But I can't judge you. You can't judge me, and that's what I believe. Right. And that's what got me to start going to actually. And it was in L.A. It was a Calvary Chapel down in Hermosa Beach. Okay. Born again Christian started it, and that's what got me interested. But I went to one closer to my house.
Was this before you met Laura?
Yes.
Okay, so did you guys meet through Calvary Chapel?
No. Laura and I met through work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was separating from someone, and I happened to be her manager.
Oh, I see.
So it was a whole process. I was 35 when I met Laura. Okay. And Laura's 11 years younger than me. I had no desire to be married. Okay. I had a different life plan for myself, and it was not to be married. Wow. And that's a whole other subject.
Wow, there's 11 years between you guys, huh? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a joke between my family tried to introduce me through my life to different Indian girls. But because I wasn't college educated, if you look at an Indian culture, they actually have a magazine that you can go through. It's got all this Indian, but there's one for males and females, and it's got their picture and it's got their decrees.
It's like a catalog.
Yeah, and I actually talked about this. I actually talked about this in my daughter's. Everybody said, my kids and my wife said your speech was too long at my daughter's wedding, but I talked about how I ended up with my wife, and I said basically. They tried to introduce me to all these girls, but I noticed as I got older, in the 20s, 25, 30, the girls got older and the degrees got less. and pretty soon I was being introduced to a girl that had been divorced, and I go, but they still turned me down. Right. Right. Oh, man. And then I ended up meeting my wife, and it was one of my uncles who I respected, my dad's oldest brother, who passed away, but respected him most. He said, "You're going to meet someone that you love, and it's going to be someone." And when I met my wife, I took her home, and she was just a friend from work, and my parents fell in love with her. Oh, nice. And my sisters called me up, and they said, and they've never done this. They've never liked anybody I was with, and they said, "Are you dating her?" I go, "No, she's just a really good friends." And my mom was like just blown away because Laura, when she was at our house, after we got done eating, she got up and got the dishes and tried to wash them, which my mom wouldn't let her.
Right.
And just the way she talked to my parents and just like touched on my mom's shoulder was very personable. My mom never experienced anything like that. And she said, this is the woman. And I think Laura actually saved me. I don't think I would have been where I was headed and where I was in my life, I would have been a good person the way she's made me a good person. And I always pray and I tell people, she's the everything good about me. Mm-hmm. Now you couldn't tell that the way I write about her next door. If you read some of this stuff I write, and it's not none of it's malicious, and she's seen everything I write, but
she probably thinks it's funny, right?
Some of it she just shakes her head.
Oh, really?
But she lets me do it, you know. But it's just the things that my adult ADD that comes out about the things. Like right now, I have my mother-in-law with us, you know, and they're gonna, you know,
she's living with you guys right now.
They're living with us until we figure out a place. But they go to I forgot, Lake Havasu for about 4 months. They have a camper and stuff.
Yeah.
But she's living with us, and so it's very entertaining. I write a lot about my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, a very disconnected person, you know, and my wife is a lot like her. I said, you know, one of the things I just recently wrote is I go, you know, when I had one person giving me an opinion, now I have two people giving me an opinion. Right. So the one opinion really enforces the other opinion about myself, you know? Oh, man. And I talk about like the food that they cook, you know.
Right.
You know, it's like they cook chicken a lot.
Yeah.
And I said they take a chicken that actually had life and they make it with no life, you know, and it's like this bland chicken, you know, has no spices. And they get excited when they add salt into the food. Like, ooh, look at that.
That's spicy.
You know, hey, are you all right, John? I added a little spice in this. Oh, thank you. I said, to survive eating in our house, you need a whole bottle of hot sauce.
Nice.
And it's like the food, or now I discovered tahini a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, it's my go-to with
the tahini sauce,
tahini
Greek stuff.
The spray. I mean, the salt.
Oh, okay.
Salt. Yeah, you can get it at the vegetable section in the markets.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Salt.
It's good.
So you can cut cucumbers, whatever, and you just sprinkle the tahini on it. It just cucumbers, whatever vegetables, just make it. I put it on salad.
Oh, wow.
But it's my go-to food.
I'll have to check that out, man.
My wife will make something, they'll put it, and she goes, oh, how is it? I go, good now.
I fixed it. So I want to go back to something you said way earlier when we first started with the spiritual discussion about what if we got there and Jesus said, you know, all I wanted you to do was do these nice things.
Yeah.
I assume you see it as more than that. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I get that those are all the good deeds that we should be showing, and that's how our faith is seen and that kind of thing. But, you know, obviously there's lots of other religious groups that have nothing to do with Jesus that are doing those things, right? And they are very loving and caring, and they're doing those things. So you would, I'm assuming as a Christian, you would say that you have to also have a relationship with Christ, right? You
have to know Christ to enter in with Christ.
Right.
You have to recognize Christ. So Muslim religion, I read a little bit about the Quran. I read a book about the Quran. Mm-hmm. Muslims do a great job of living their word.
Right.
Probably one of the best. Mm-hmm. Mormons do a phenomenal job.
Yes.
Phenomenal job of living their word, helping the community. They are the most giving people.
I agree.
Supporting themselves, finding out that they're ready for something. Mm-hmm. They have food kitchens built. They Punjabis, the Punjabi religion, you can go to any temple. You need a place to stay. If you're anywhere, you don't have a place to stay, go in the temple and put your, they serve so many homeless. Right. If you look at they make mass amounts of food, and you go to their temple and there's homeless sitting there eating. Right. If you want a meal, be in Yuba City. I mean, you'll live fine over there because they'll take care of you. That's what it is about giving to, and that's the funniest part about Christians in general. They're not that hard working at it.
Right.
You know, they're focused more on knowing Christ. Mm-hmm. but not doing Christ.
Do you think that's more like American Christians though, or like if you
Yes.
like go somewhere where
Yes.
there's a little more persecution, like it's
Yeah.
like being a Christian in some of these other countries could mean a death sentence for you.
Yep.
I think when I look at the lives of those people,
Yep.
they do have that servant heart, that giving, loving, more so than like a lot of American Christians.
You know the story about Pastor Paul when he went over to India.
India, yeah.
And he hurt his leg.
Yeah. That's when we first started going there.
Yeah.
First sermon I ever heard from Pastor Paul. He was sitting up in a chair and he had his leg in a brace. Yeah.
And he took, and I was in an Indian village, in Punjab. That's where when I was 4.5 years old, my grandfather took me to India from England. He came to visit. I was the oldest grandson. He didn't want to leave me. He begged, and this was an issue mentally with my family. I blamed my dad for letting me go there and get stuck there. So when I went there, Punjab and Pakistan, India got into a war.
Oh wow!
And they were lobbing bombs across, and my grandpa's farm was right on the border, and they're attacking each other, and I couldn't get out, and my uncle had to.
Do you remember that?
Me. I remember parts of it running in the village. I ended up meeting some people later on that knew me from the village, and said I was the biggest jerk off they've ever met. I was spoiled because my grandfather was a pretty big man in the town, and I was just a spoiled kid that didn't go to school,
right,
and could do whatever I want. Ran around this village. I remember running around the village. I remember sitting in something of what was a classroom. Didn't understand the language. When I came back, I spoke pure Punjabi. Did not know any English. So when I was in this room being introduced back to my family and all the cousins, my mom says, "You, out of your mouth came some of the most foul language they ever heard someone speak." And I had to learn English again. So I'm trying to learn English while they're sending me to a preschool.
Right.
So it was a very traumatic time in my life. But it was an experience. I'm sorry I left what we were talking about.
Oh, that's fine. That's what I like about these.
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to go. It's exciting. Yeah. But I wanted to ask too. So if someone comes up to you and you get into a spiritual discussion, and as you being a Christian, let's say it's a Mormon, let's say, and you're explaining to them why you're trying to explain to them why your relationship with Jesus is different than theirs, because they would also claim to be a Christian, right? Mormons would say they're Christians, but when you start getting into doctrine, there's a lot of major differences as far as who Jesus is, what he does, what the purpose is, and all that. And they say to you, well, John, I do, let's say I'm the Mormon person. I'm saying, John, I do way more good than you do in this earth. And I say I have a relationship with Jesus. And you say you have a relationship with Jesus, but you don't do as much as me.
Yeah.
So how do you convince that person that their theology is off and you have the right theology? Because
I just say my Jesus is comes through God. It doesn't come from a guy walking in the woods and named Joseph that all of a sudden somebody comes down.
Right.
And it starts like 40 or 100 years ago.
Right.
My God goes back to time, and I totally agree. I would also say that I'm not judging you for what the works you do. And I don't think you should judge me for the works I do. We're all different in the eyes of the Lord. And whatever works our God wants us to do is completely different. It's feeding the hungry, raising your kids. Is that works that God wants us to do? Is providing for your family works that God wants us to do? A roof over your head, educating yourself, keeping yourself in shape. Right. Or having fun, or becoming a great musician, so you're entertaining other people. Right. What are the works God wants us to do? Right. And that's what I believe. I really believe. My wife to me, as much as I fun with her, is probably the best example of a Christian woman. She's a supportive wife. We've gone through so much, and she's still there for me. We've had our differences. I'm a loud person sometimes. She's not. She's a soft-spoken person. She's raised our kids when I was traveling. Our 3 beautiful daughters that are good women. Yeah. And so I think she's to me, I always say she's in.
Right.
The challenge is, it's going to be me.
Right. No, like you would question your own salvation before you would
I always
question hers.
question my own salvation. I think you always should.
Right.
Everybody should question it. If you're not questioning your own salvation,
Right.
we're all imperfect.
Yeah.
We are all imperfect. I'm just hoping that the Lord forgives me for the things I've done wrong,
Right.
and knows that, already knows what this heart is.
Right.
I know I have a good heart. I know I want to do. I'm a good person. I would fit in great.
Right.
As long as the heaven isn't what I've seen.
Right.
Isn't the people that I could.
So as you question, I agree with you. I think we should always have that mindset. And I think a lot of Christians would disagree with that. They would say, no. Once you've done this ritual, whatever it is, whether it's praying a prayer, whether it's reading your Bible, whether it's getting water baptized, whatever. Yeah. They'll say, once you've done that, you should never, ever question ever again.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think, well, what if maybe you're convicted? What if a sermon you hear out of 1 John or something makes you start thinking, I don't know, maybe I'm not, So I guess, and I've been there, and I still go through that often. So when you're there, how do you work through that? Like what kind of evidences, for lack of a better word, are you looking at to prove to yourself that you are saved?
You know what I've decided in my life is that I believe that Jesus Christ died for me. I believe an individual suffered greatly for me, and whether that's symbolic to some people, whatever, that's fine. And I believe that so much. My faith is so strong. That I don't need to go in search of things. I don't need to go and back it up. I don't need to see, was there a Red Sea that was parted? Where was Moses? Let me go see where Jesus died, to go back there 15 times to go see, or travel around in Israel to see all. I don't need that. I am I'm hitting on some point.
Yeah.
I am fine with my faith. I'm fine. I'm strong with my faith. I think what it's going to come down to is when someone challenges me on my faith that says, either you believe this way or I'm going to put a bullet in your head, where should I be with that?
Right.
That's what it's going to be. Or am I willing to talk up when I'm challenged? If my job is at risk and I need to deny my Christ, where am I going to be? That's probably going to be the question. But, it's easy to say, am I willing to die for my Lord? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's one thing entirely to think of what you might do in that situation.
Yeah.
But then when you're there, that's why when you read through the Book of Martyrs or those kind of things, and you hear these stories of men that are being burned, literally burned, and they're singing praises while they're burning. And I look at that and I think to myself, of course, because there's always a skeptic who says, well, that's not even a true story.
Yeah.
But assuming that's a true story, the only way that I can even fathom that being a thing is if that was all God.
Yeah.
Like God was doing whatever, making him not feel the burn or whatever it was, or just building up the joy in his heart is just overflowing in song. Because who does that?
Yeah.
You read the gospel in the book of Acts, you see that the disciples were flogged. I mean, that's brutal. The first time I saw the Passion of the Christ and I saw what an actual flogging was, I was like, oh my gosh, that's worse than the crucifixion.
Right.
Most people didn't even survive to the cross when they were flogged. The disciples were flogged. They walked away praising God that they got to go through that. I think you guys are nuts.
That have recently been in jail 20, 30 years for believing. There's Christians in China right now that have been, their entire life has been in jail doing hard labor.
Yeah.
But they love God. There's in India, which is a Christian. I mean, you have a cross in India. If you come across a Hindu, you better watch out.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's a dangerous place to be.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, in India.
Right, right.
It's Hindus are very violent against their religion. Punjabis are accepting of other people's religion. Hindus are not. They're not accepting Muslims. That's the way they want to get rid of them. They can't live in peace with another religion because it goes against everything they believe. That's how much they believe in their religion. Are you willing to, go to jail for that long?
Right.
And for me, I don't know yet.
Right.
I don't know yet if it's until it's.
I like how you say yet.
Yeah.
As if that's definitely going to happen.
I think it's going to happen.
Wow, really?
I don't know.
You think we'll all be there eventually?
I think that what's happening in our country right now, it's accelerating really fast. And I think we're going to be our belief is going to be, because our belief is dangerous to our government.
Right.
Everything we believe is very dangerous to our government. So the first thing is going to be, we're going to lose our ability to have properties. We're going to be taxed
Right.
on our churches. So owning and being able to sustain ourselves, is going to be the first thing. And then it's going to be, now that the Marriage Act came through, it's going to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to come to our church door and say, you're going to marry these two people. If you're
Right.
not, you're racism, that we're going to take your property away.
Which again is the point I'm making, right? Like, I don't see a lot of that activity on the right,
Yeah.
to where they're saying, we disagree with you and we're going to force you to do what we want you to do, even though you disagree with it.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that.
No, but they're gonna succumb to it. Look at churches right now.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the churches right now, Methodists
Right.
and stuff, they're
Right.
they're breaking apart and they're accepting this stuff.
Right.
There's the woman pastors, the woman gay pastor. It's too extreme.
Do you think that's out of fear that they're doing that, or do you think they actually believe that what they're doing is okay?
No, I think it's out of fear.
Okay.
It's out of fear, and like an element, and I don't know the exact verbiage the way it was said, but there's a doctrine in their church that if you already have accepted Christ and everything, so if you're being challenged on it and your life is at risk or whatever, you're allowed to go and not accept Christ because you've already been accepted. So you say, yeah, I'm fine, I won't do that. That doctrine is in that church, and I don't know how it was. I didn't like it. That's part of the reason I left. I said, I'm not gonna.
Well, what do you think would happen? Like say you're at church. Let's say you're at Village Chapel, and a guy breaks in the window with or a bunch of guys break in there with guns and ski masks, and they say, okay, we're going to shoot everybody who doesn't deny Christ. But if you deny Christ, we'll let you walk out of here scot-free. If you won't deny Christ, we're going to shoot you in the face.
It would be, to me, it would be that ultimate.
Right.
And I don't know how I would answer it.
Well, but what I'm asking is, let's say you, as a saved person, you decide in that moment, let's say your fear gets the best of you. Let's say that your wife and daughter are there.
Yeah.
And you know that they're going to kill them or do whatever to them if you don't deny Christ. And let's say in a moment of weakness, you just say the words, yeah, I deny Christ. He's not real. I don't believe in him. And then they let you go. And now you've saved your life and the life of your wife and the life of your daughter. Do you think that now you somehow lost your salvation?
No. I think the Lord is that good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have to be something more significant than that. I think it would have to be something that was, like you said, biblical about those guys burning.
Mm-hmm.
I think something came to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be one of these things that you're going to be left alone.
Right.
I think something came to them. I don't think anybody would criticize you or say you're not a faith person. Your head's going to get chopped off by this guy that's whatever Muslim country, and they're going to chop your head off. And they're saying, unless you deny Christ. I don't think anybody would say, well, you're not a believer because you were not willing to die. I don't think we're not at that place. This is thousands of years ago, where it's completely different.
Right.
If you're seeing Christ and you're talking to Christ, I think that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just imagine what that was like and why these people were capable of doing. That's why when you look at some of those people that didn't believe, it's right there in front of you.
Right.
You have it right there, and you've seen him do miracles.
Yeah.
That's the one I don't get.
Right.
I mean, they don't got TikTok, YouTube.
Right.
They didn't have to struggle with any of that
stuff.
Look at that. So no, it's, and I think it's going to be a question. It's just like we always talk about, would you be able to kill someone?
Yeah.
To defend your family.
See, that's a good one. And for me, that answer is, I think I would. Like, again, I use example. Some guy breaks in through the window. He's going to rape and kill my wife and daughter. And I have the ability to protect let's say I have a gun and I'm able to shoot the guy and kill him to protect my family. I think I would do it. But then I think I would be messed up for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'd have this struggle. Like, I would know that it was a justified kill. I wasn't out looking to kill somebody. I wasn't, it was a full-on defensive act to save my family. But I would also have that eating at me to know that I took someone's life. even though I thought it was justified. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would have this inner struggle. I mean, that's my thought. I guess I wouldn't know unless I was put in that situation.
Yeah, and I think
but-
everybody says, because I say the opposite of it. I said if I killed someone, I don't think I would be having that problem. It's just like going to war.
Right.
Killing people that I think are bad.
Right.
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
War is even harder though, because then like everything you have to go on is really all just what your country's telling you.
Right.
So for all you know, I mean, because it's the same thing from the other side. This other country, their government's telling them these Americans are evil.
They're violating
exactly
they're in our land. They're violating it.
So that's even harder for me. And I kind of hold. There was an old Chris Rock skit. I think it was on Bigger and Blacker. I think one of his things. I don't know if you heard it, where he says it was about gays in the military. That's what it was. He goes, they want to fight. Let them fight.
Yeah.
Because I ain't fighting.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't care if there's a tank rolling down Flatbush Avenue. I ain't killing nobody.
Yeah. And I believe the same thing.
Right,
I believe the same thing. Who wants to fight, let them fight.
Right.
It doesn't. I don't care.
Right. I don't either.
But I think that. I mean, my wife and I even talked about it. Laura says the same thing. Our thing is somebody breaks into our house. Unfortunately, and it's being recorded, but they're dead.
Yeah.
They're not going to be. They're not going to be having this thing of, hey, I quit, whatever, because you're going to come back, or you're going to know something, or you're going to sue me.
Right.
Let me just put you out of your misery right now. You're not a good human being anyways.
Right.
And you're done.
Right.
And Laura's the same way. She's ruthless that way.
Nice.
She's willing to do that. We already have those scenarios in our head. What we would do.
Nice.
Yeah, our house is the wrong house to come into.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good it's being recorded, because then maybe the guys will be like, not that they know where you live, but there was that story a while back about the guy that, and this is where I was just like, throw up my hands like, are you kidding me? The guy that was breaking into the house and he slipped on a toy or something and hurt himself and sued the family and won.
Yeah. Well,
I'm like, what?
The most recent one is the garage one where he got locked in the garage.
Oh, I haven't heard that one
He couldn't get out of the garage.
He was breaking into their house.
He broke into the house. He went through the garage door shut, and it automatically locked, and he couldn't get out of the garage door. And the garage door was disengaged, so the button wouldn't open it. He was locked in there for 8 hours, and there was no water or anything, and he was so traumatized. And he sued, and the insurance company for the house settled out of court. I don't remember the amount for that. And then the guy that fell through the skylight onto the countertop and broke his leg. And they said that it was a defective skylight. It wasn't the right thing that is supposed to not able to break like that.
That may be true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a defective skylight, because it broke that moron's leg who was trying to break into my house.
But it had nothing to do with the legality of the law. It had to do with everything with how good the lawyers are.
Right.
And how your insurance doesn't want to spend thousands of dollars fighting it.
Right.
And that's what it is.
Right.
That's where we're at right now in life.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy,
man.
crazy.
Yeah. Fun stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about the end.
Cool.
Yeah. Unless there's anything else you want to touch on,
This
or
is a great conversation.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
No, I think it's a good. I thought of it something totally different, and I like what you're doing.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, I thought it was going to be this there's some podcasts they do with the churches and stuff.
Oh yeah, kind of snoozers.
Please don't.
Yeah, I want it to be just like two guys. Well,
Keep on bringing
it's fun for me.
Yeah.
But do people enjoy listening to it? That's really the real question, right? Are people listening to these 3 hour long?
I'll listen to I'll go on and listen to some stuff.
Yeah, you should.
It's neat.
Check it out.
It's like hearing people's views. It's a good conversation.
I love it. I mean, because I do that anyway. There's a bunch of different podcasts I subscribe to that I listen to. And I love listening to people have conversations.
It's a fireside.
Please spread the word to those that you know. For feedback, or to let me know that you're interested in being a guest, please contact me at whycan'twetalaboutthat@proton.me. To join the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast Facebook group, just search for it and ask to join. Thanks. I hope that you will tune in for bonus episode 13 next week. And hopefully I will be back with season 2 sometime in May or June. Since this is the final episode of the season, there isn't a clip from next week's episode. So instead, please enjoy this full audition reel from the recording of the intro.
Get really mad and hate you over this. What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
First birdie, the bunch of people, they get really mad and hate you over this. What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this? Maybe a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this. Yes, could be. A bunch of people get really mad over this. Oh yeah, what if a bunch of really mad and hate you over this? Oh, what if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
Nah, down here in the South, what if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this? The end.